Well, good morning. I'm Steve Thompson, president of Emery Thompson Machinery, and thank you all for coming. We're starting out today with, we have 319 how to make videos at emerythompson.com. And over the years that Jeff and I have been making these, we originally started calling it Lunch with the President, because I would tell people that unfortunately President Obama couldn't be here today, but he's letting me sit in. Then we changed it over because Jeff had a tremendous influence on the way I make ice cream. I used to open up number 10 tins, that's a 3-quart soup can of heavy gloppy strawberries, and call that strawberry ice cream. And Jeff taught me how to shop at the supermarket and make a better ice cream, so we called it Make It Fresh. We're going to change the name again today after the third time since 2008.
Make it stale.
Make it stale? Okay, I don't think we'll do Make It Stale. We're going to now call us, because Jeff and I were talking, we said, you know what, we're really pretty proud of the fact that we're teaching a lot of people all over the world how to get into business, how to make money, and how to have a lot of fun doing it. So we're going to change our videos to called Get Down to Business, and that's what we're hoping to do, is help you get down to business and become very successful. So this is Jeff Markow from Fruit Loops, Florida, with Mystic Ice Cream. Nate O'Donnell over there from Mami's, spelled M-A-M-I-S, vegan gelato, a tremendous product that is coming along. We're going to discuss that a lot, dairy-free ice cream. And I wanted to introduce you today to a gentleman who has really gotten down to business. I met him over a year ago. John, if you'd come over. This is John Gore, and John runs New Sentry Canine Services. We'll put up a shot of the brochure in a little bit. But I met John a year ago. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And Sammy is a golden retriever, a purebred, and when I went up to New York to pick her up, the lady who was the breeder looked at Paula and me, and she said, well, obviously you're pretty old, which was the first insult. You're pretty old, and you're not going to have kids running around, so I guess you're going to want to have a nice, calm golden retriever. Well, Sammy was of a litter of 13 puppies, and she said, when you come back to pick her up when she's 9 weeks old, we'll pick out a nice, calm one for you. So, yep. So I flew up, picked up Samantha Jane Thompson, Sammy, and she is our mascot, and with the intent that they were going to give us a nice, calm dog. And I think what the lady said was, hey, Louie, bring one of those in from the back room. And they picked out a dog, and we got the wild child. And John has been training Sammy. And John, you were a police officer for 25 years.
Yes.
And of that, 18 was in Canine.
Yeah, I specialized in the Canine division. I think I was about 3 years into it. I really enjoyed doing the drug interdiction. I was making a lot of drug arrests, and the chief of police locally came to me and said, hey, we think you'd be good with a dog. Do you think you would like to try it? I didn't know nothing about dogs. I said, sure, I'll try it. And I got in, and I knew that's where I wanted to be. So I'm here today. I took every class that I could possibly take while I was in there, because there's a continual educational program within law enforcement, like with teachers and like lawyers and so forth. Do you have that with these guys? An continual educational process?
No, they call up and ask questions.
Oh, there it is. So you do have it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so anything that came along the pike that had anything to do with dogs, then I put in for it. I have about 4,000 hours, 3,500 to 4,000 hours in dog stuff. Plots. Don't make me look bad now. Plots. Glide. And so I knew that one day when I retire, and I say retire, I think I was about 30 at the time, so retirement was like non-conceivable at that time because I was young. Sit. Now, blind. But I knew reality, someday down the road I was going to retire. So I took every school I could to build up my credibility. And like I said, I had about 3,500 hours. Back in 2005, the facility I'm at now, I used to train at in 1994. As a matter of fact, I worked for Brooksville PD, and Brooksville PD was so poor they couldn't afford to send me to little extra schools. So I hooked up with this guy that was a law enforcement guy, and I started pulling weeds in those fence lines to learn how to train dogs. So I had to give him 2 hours of work for 1 hour of him giving me lessons on how to train. And I learned a lot. I really learned how to pull weeds. So it just kind of snowballed from there. And, in 2005, I got the opportunity to move into that facility. And now the guy that started me, he comes and visits me. So it's kind of weird, it's a surreal kind of feeling. When I look out my front office and I look at the fence line and I picture myself on my hands and knees pulling weeds while Rick was out there on the field training other people with dogs. So I feel a very good sense of accomplishment when I have those visions. Steve came to me about a year ago and said, man, my dog's like out of control. And like he said, this breed can be very calm, but it can be very on the other end of the scale. She happens to be on the other end of the scale. To this date, she's been through her basic obedience. She's did her intermediate. The last time she came in, we started doing hand signals and so forth. So she does pretty good. She's able to do hand signals from about 30 feet out whenever you're working her. I can do some longer distance stuff, like have her come to me and halfway to me, have her go into a down and those type things. I've been teaching her the last time that she came. We were teaching her some public access stuff because he's in an office area and there's a lot of people that come and go. And what does everybody want to do when they see a nice looking dog like that? Hey, what's up? Okay, right? Everybody, we were out here in the front and there was probably about half the people that came in that I seen while I was standing there. Each one of them gravitated towards her. What does that do for the dog? The dog becomes a social butterfly, okay? When we think about it, would we let people come up and pet our child and say, hey, it's a good-looking kid there, You'd be like, get your hands off my kid, right? Because stranger is with danger. Okay? So what we're trying to convey to the child is that you don't just go up to a stranger, right? We need to do the same with the dog because one day she's allowed to be out running around. Someone go by and, oh, Jane, that's a good-looking dog. Stop the truck or the car, open the door. Hey, come on. And she's the social butterfly thinking that they want to give her a doggy biscuit or something. She'll run, get in the truck, and now Sammy's gone. We don't usually think about that, do we? Something to think about, though, isn't it? And I'm not saying that people can't pet your dog. Surely they can. Well, let's just not make her a social butterfly. That's all. I don't know what else.
You see how she's watching John?
Yeah.
She's watching for cues. She's sitting here relaxed, but she's very attentive. She's waiting to see what kind of cues John might give her.
Much like I do.
I will tell you one funny sidebar. John raises some of the most beautiful German Shepherds that you've ever seen, that you can buy for companion dogs or guard dogs, different purposes. And so Sammy, when we brought her in, working here, she was exposed to a lot of people, but not to a lot of dogs. Where we live, there just aren't people or dogs. We have hedgehogs and snakes and occasional deer. So every time she'd see another dog, she became very submissive. The tail would curl under, and she was frightened. Now she gets out of the car at John's ranch, and the tail is flying high, and the German Shepherds are barking, and she's like, "Hey boys, I'm here." And she did pick up one very interesting thing. These are the sweetest dogs in the world. but dogs have a sixth sense over whether or not you're nervous about them or friendly. So what
Well
she
done.
sometimes do, because she's got a sense of humor, is if someone in the crowd is a little nervous, she might have a ball in her mouth or a toy in her mouth, but she's learned from the German Shepherds, instead of her usual yelping, she'll go like that. And when she plays with Paula and me, she's giving this low growl of a German Shepherd. And it's until you get to know that it's just for play, it's very unnerving. But she picked that up on her own. But John is one business that I found where someone had a goal and went after it. And I'll tell you, he has some fantastic people, graduates who have been there. Last time I was there, he had a dog. It was a Burmese mountain dog.
Yeah.
I think it was about 9 months old, and it's already this big. It takes up the whole crate. There was, I think I saw a Yorkie there. There were just all different breeds, not just German Shepherds. And so he's done a lot for Sammy, as you can see. She's very calm and relaxed. When we first started these classes, she'd be around, running around everybody. So I wanted you to meet John and just show you an example of a business besides ice cream, where if you've got a goal, you can really, you put your time and effort into it, and you'll do great. John, I thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And very good, and thank you for everything you've done for Sammy.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
What happens when the drugs wear off?
Mine or hers? So, good morning. We're going to make some ice cream. Nate O'Donnell will get a microphone on you in a second, and we're going to, so why don't you go on in and grab the mic. And Sammy, I'm going to, could you leave Sammy for me with the office? Sure will. Thank you. Good to see you. See you soon.
See you guys. Take care.
Bye.
You should leave some cards.
We're going to start with giving out a formula. Oh, and a couple of ground rules.
You know what?
If you have a question, raise your hand right away.
Steve in the next
because
less than 24
you don't want to
hours.
forget.
Email Steve,
You know, you don't want to let it go
picture
too
of your
long,
card.
and then
He'll put it
you
on
don't
the
have,
video,
it's,
so that there's a
it's
contact.
out of sync with what we're doing. So if you have a question, raise your hand. That's the chocolate brownie for later.
Just ask
Got to
Crystal
be
in the
here
last
somewhere.
office
That's the
on the right
Mississippi
there,
mud
as you go.
pie.
And
What I was thinking is,
And I will find my other. Oh, I know where
that's
it is.
fine.
It's up
However
here.
you can get it to him.
We're going to
Ken will
make
put it on the
something that
video.
I've never made before. When Jeff and I make ice cream, he usually makes ice creams that you all know, and I try to make ice creams that someone hasn't seen before, so we can try it. Last class, we made an avocado ice cream, and it was at my wife's request, and you liked it. It was really a good product. It was a dairy-free avocado, and you know, here in the United States and Europe, we pour oil over an avocado and have it as part of a salad. But you get over into the Far East, and avocado is a dessert, and they'll pour cream over an avocado and eat it as a dessert. So we turned it into an avocado ice cream, and it was fantastic. Today we're going to make something, if it's pronounced one of two ways, and I'm not sure, either ubi or ube, but ubi, ube, not to be confused with uge for huge. Ubi is a yam. You've all had yams at Thanksgiving dinner and all, and this is a purple yam, and it's an extremely popular flavor over in that part of the world. I've never made it. I'm guessing at the recipe, and we're going to see how it does. So we'll pass out the recipe now, and we're going to make it out of a dairy-free mix. Nate, let's talk about dairy-free for a minute. Of course, ice cream, the traditional ice creams in the world are from dairy, from cows, and they consist of milk, cream, sugar, and what I call a secret ingredient, skim milk. Skim milk is heavy cream with all the fat removed, so it's still got all the good stuff, but without the fat. So regular ice cream that you buy, Breyers, Hershey's, Haagen-Dazs, Ben & Jerry, these are all companies we put in the business. They're using milk, cream, sugar, skim milk, and that's the basis of their ice cream. and that's what Jeff will be making a little later for you. There's two main groups of people age-wise in the world. There's my age group, which I'm at the young end of, called baby boomers. Jeff's a baby boomer. And we were, for a long time, the largest buying group that ever existed. There's about 72 million of us in the world. And I had a stockbroker who used to track us. And when we were 18, we were buying used cars. When we were 22, we were getting apartments. 28 to 30, we were getting married, and then we were buying a house, and then having children, and then buying a Dodge Caravan. Today, we're buying retirement communities put up by Jimmy Buffett. And she's back. She escaped. So they have been able to track us over our lifespan of what we buy. Well, the millennial age group has come along, and the millennials are roughly between 21 and 37. And this age group is bigger than us. There's 85 million of them. So once you get past all the jokes, like my favorite joke that I tell my kids, and they roll their eyes when I say it, is the reason I moved the factories from the Bronx to Florida was because Florida homes don't have basements. So you can't move in with me. Well, once you get past that and you realize this is a very serious buying group, it's becoming very significant to our product. Now, I'm continually studying the millennials, and I found out two new things about them because my sons, and my two daughters, they have, and again, I'm generalizing, but they have tremendous buying power. Where we used to go out and buy a couple of boxes of Boone's Farm wine on the weekend, for about $9 a box, really cheap rot gut stuff. My son lives in Manhattan, and he goes out, and on Tuesday he'll start going down to Sherry Lehman and looking at $45 bottles of Bordeaux. And he and his wife will buy one bottle for $45, and that's part of their weekend. Well, we would never spend that kind of money. But then I started researching this, and why? Where is the money coming from? Is it the jobs? Are they paying that much higher? It's actually a cultural difference. We started off from who knows what age with in mind that we were going to buy a house. And we were, of course, going to buy, that great hot, 442 or the GTO. We were going to have a great car. The millennials are a bit different. They're really not interested in buying houses at this point. They see a house in Silicon Valley, a little shack, and it's $800,000. It's unreachable. So they're just not going out and buying homes. Same thing with cars. Why do I need a car if I'm in Los Angeles or San Francisco when I can call Uber, or New York? Even here in Tampa, we have Uber. So they don't see the need for a car the way we do. They have all this extra discretionary income. Think about when you were 30, how much your mortgage was, how much your car payment was. This is money that they're not spending at this time. It'll change. In fact, we know it'll change when kids come along. Kids ruin everything. But for now, they have all this discretionary income, so their buying power is, we're going to buy the best we can find. We may not eat a hamburger every week, but when we do, it's not going to be a McDonald's hamburger. It's going to be a Ruth Chris filet mignon. When we buy a pint of ice cream, it's not going to be Hershey's or Breyers. It's going to be a craft ice cream, like craft beer. It's going to be a $7, $8, $9 pint of ice cream, something really extraordinary. And that's where the dairy-free comes in. Again, generalizing, the millennials will buy, they'll eat ice cream. If my kids all came for Thanksgiving and I had Haagen-Dazs, they would eat it. But they don't have 3 or 4 pints of Haagen-Dazs in their freezer. They don't buy it. They like a coconut-based product. And that's where Nate comes in. Mami's is producing a coconut-based powder that he'll tell you about the ingredients in. There's no GMOs, there's no antibiotics, all the usual problems that you can run into with dairy. Lactose intolerance, vegan, they have even labeled it on some of their products vegan. Well, I propose don't call anything vegan. It sounds like a 90-year-old man who weighs 89 pounds and you just want to buy him a good meal. So some millennials in Southern California said, why don't we call this product dairy-free, which it is, and then tack on the words ice cream. And that has really stuck. And this is selling phenomenally. This is not a fad. This is not it's a trend. It's not going to replace homemade ice cream. It never will. As Jeff will tell you, everybody in the world either eats ice cream or wants to eat ice cream, dairy ice cream. But this is something that is extremely significant, and that's why I've been telling people about it. So I'm going to turn it over to Nate, and he's going to tell you what he's mixing up today for making our first product.
All right, thanks, Steve. Thank you for the introduction. And I just want to say that I seem to be the one exception to the millennials having all this discretionary income rule. So, hopefully that'll resolve itself. But in general, I think you're right. Now, I just have one question that kind of segue into this segment here about dairy-free ice cream. Does anyone here know who has heard of Beyonce?
Oh, yeah.
A few people, all right. Hopefully more than a few. Well, this year, and this addresses the whole dairy-free versus vegan thing, which is an interesting dichotomy, but at Coachella, which is the largest music festival in the U.S., Beyonce is going to be performing next week, and she has urged all of her fans to, go vegan for Coachella. So this is interesting because all of a sudden, when Beyonce says something, people start listening a little bit. And actually, if you look on Instagram right now, look up After's Ice Cream. They are the largest regional ice cream chain in LA with 20, soon to be 24 stores, I believe. And they are going to be launching a line of vegan ice cream at Coachella. So I don't know if this is directly related to Beyonce or not, but the point is that it's sort of it's a wave in popular culture that has been building for a while, and now it's going from being, are you the ones who do have dairy-free ice cream, or are you the ones who don't have it? That's essentially what's happening now, because it's going to be everywhere in LA and starting in a couple weeks. So that kind of brings us into who I am. I'm the community manager, vice president of marketing, and general fixer for Mami's Gelato, because we're a small business, and Steve knows how it is. None of us do one thing only.
You do everything.
You do a little bit of everything. And a few years ago, I was doing carrying things to UPS, but thankfully we're beyond that point now. But Mami's Gelato, who we are, is a company that believes that dairy-free is a big part of the future of ice cream. And specifically today, I'm here to talk about our flagship product, which is called Froconet, which hopefully is obvious that it means frozen coconut. And we don't label it as ice cream or specifically on the label, but you can call it ice cream or dairy-free ice cream, vegan gelato, non-dairy frozen custard, which, by the way, we have shops that call it all those things around the country. But the point is that it is dairy-free ice cream is the product that you get from this. So essentially, today I'm actually introducing our new packaging. Previously, in the last video that I made with Steve, it was this way. You would use a larger bag, and you'd have to weigh out the powder, and admittedly, it was a little cumbersome. But now we have these bags. All of our mixes come in these bags that yield exactly 2 gallons per bag. So essentially what we're going to do is take a 12-quart bucket like this one, which you can get online at a restaurant supply store, and a whisk here. And we're going to follow the instructions on this bag, which are pretty simple. Let's see. I'm going to need some scissors or a knife to open this bag.
I'll get that for you.
Thanks,
Be right
Steve.
back.
So the first step is I'm just going to fill up this bucket to the 1 gallon mark with warm water from the tap here. Make sure it gets nice and warm here.
Here you go.
Thanks.
Well,
So, Steve, you mentioned Breyers and Haagen-Dazs and companies like that, and how people are looking to more artisanal options. And interestingly, I think somebody told Breyers and Haagen-Dazs because now they've come out with their own dairy-free lines of ice cream in grocery stores. You'll notice in grocery stores they don't call it ice cream because legally it has to have at least 10% butterfat to be called ice cream on the shelf. But usually in ice cream shops, you can get away with calling it whatever you want. The USDA isn't going to come and shut you down. Let's see here.
What I'm doing is getting ready to run the machine. I checked that I had lubricated last night the drive shaft. I'm going to put it all together, and then I'm going to run a sanitizer through it. And one little thing about the machine, it's 2 blades, and they're spring-loaded. I'll show you a typical dasher. That's from a 12-quart machine. And the springs, that's just to hold it. The springs push the blades out against the walls. So unlike our old machines where we had to sharpen the blades once a year, now we don't have to do anything for 5 or 6 years.
Dope.
Don't forget, if you have any questions, just chime in.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions so far?
We
Sure.
find, oh, good.
Do you use anything other than coconut, like almond milk or some other form of non-dairy product?
Good question.
Nate, you have to repeat the question because
Oh,
I'm sorry,
absolutely.
the microphones won't pick it up.
Thanks. So the question was, do we produce at Mami's Gelato mixes that are based on anything other than coconut, like soy or almond or cashew? The answer to that is we currently, while we have experimented and developed some bases using those different ingredients, we actually decided to focus exclusively on coconut to start out. And we're only a couple of years old, so we've kind of been ramping up. The reason we chose coconut, there are a couple different reasons. One is that coconut tends to be less expensive when all is said and done than almond or cashew, especially. Soy has a little bit of stigma, which, some of it is undeserved, but there is kind of this idea that, soy is less than these other options. And also, coconut really blends well with a wider variety of flavors than almond or cashew. Almond and cashew are really good with things like chocolate and sea salt caramel and flavors that are more on that sort of like savory end, I guess. But not as well with fruit flavors in particular, or even things like mint. Coconut has kind of more, I would almost call it a transparent profile where it can mesh. So for now, all of our mixes are coconut based. That might change in the future, but that's we decided to really push ahead with that. That being said, we also went with a powdered base, obviously, for a couple different reasons. One of them being it's easier to store, it's easier to ship. It's shelf stable. This has a shelf life of 1 year unopened. So those are all advantages. And then it's really easy to mix it up, as I'm going to show you here in a second. So I filled up this 12-quart bucket to the 4-quart mark here. We're going to end up with 2 gallons from this bag, like I mentioned. So I'm going to mix it with a gallon here. And I'm going to add some of the powder and start whisking it. This process is actually easier if you use a commercial immersion blender, like the Big Sticks blender from Waring, or a RoboCoupe, or a Burr mixer, for instance. However, not everybody has, a $300 blender starting out. So I wanted to demonstrate that you can prepare the mix using just a whisk. It takes a little more elbow grease, but it's worth it. And of course, if it starts selling like gangbusters, you can always, the investment in a immersion blender is going to be relatively small. So I'm going to add the rest of this powder here. Now, because Froconut mix is it's a full fat mix. It's not a fat-free mix like, for example, if you've ever tried Dole Whip, for instance. That is a powdered mix that is fat-free, so it dissolves a little bit more easily. This, because you've got the coconut fat in there, you have to emulsify it. So hot water will do that, or warm water helps with that, and then blending it is going to help. If you use an immersion blender, that'll help speed the process along. But the point is that once it's blended, that's what gives it its creamy mouthfeel and texture. That's more like ice cream.
Now, when you say fat, it's not fat and fattening like, say, a Hershey candy bar. It's a healthy fat.
Well, coconut has gotten a lot of good attention for having different kinds of fat than you'll find in like canola oil or butter, for that matter. It has these medium chain triglycerides, MCT fats, and those have different metabolic properties than other types of fat. That being said, if you eat enough of this, it is ice cream. So you wouldn't want to eat a gallon a day. It's a treat. All right, so I've got that pretty well blended up here. Now I'm going to set this whisk aside. You can see it's probably at about 6.5 quarts right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it up to the 8-quart line with some more water. Let's see. I'm not going to touch Jeff's bucket here.
So this is going to be the basis of our product. You're going to hear the term mix. Really bad term. It's actually a blend. So this is a blend of coconut and sugar. When we make ice cream, as I mentioned, milk, cream, sugar, skim milk. We should call it, a nice term would be a blend, but we use the word mix, which always sounds awful. It sounds like a powder. But this is the basis.
I like to say that once you add the water and blend it up, you have a dairy-free ice cream base. So I use those terms. The mix I use to refer to the powder itself, and then now we have a dairy-free ice cream base, which is what it is. It's a base that you can use for all of your dairy-free flavors. So I'm going to concentrate as I fill up to the 8-quart line here.
Now this machine is sanitized and ready to go. If we don't take the door off or reach in, it's going to stay sanitized or germ-free for as long as we run it. We could run 8 hours, batch after batch after batch, and never have to sanitize again.
All right, now with the dairy-free base, with the coconut base here, for best results, you actually want to let it sit for a few minutes to let it fully hydrate, just to get the best consistency possible. So
we don't have a few minutes.
Well, I've made one right here.
Oh, okay. You're way ahead of me.
I thought ahead. So this one we can use for our first batch.
Excellent.
While we allow this one to fully hydrate and age. Which, ideally you would wait 15 minutes, but if we wait 10, it's going to be the same difference. It'll be fine. So I'm just giving it one last whisk here to just make sure everything's blended up. It looks pretty good now.
I am both hydrated and aged, and it hasn't done much good for me.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say that. All right. Like a fine wine. So this is good to go. I'm going to portion out 4 quarts. This is obviously going to be 2 gallons. That's too much for the CB-350.
We'll take 4 quarts.
So I'll set that aside as well to age. Here's the hardest part. All right. Success.
I'll even take a shade under.
Oh yeah. I'll go down a little bit.
This is our CB-350. This makes 6 to 7 quarts of product every time you run it. Yes. Oh, hi. Yes.
How long will that store after you mix it up? Do you need to use it like the same day?
No, you don't. So you can toss it in the refrigerator. You can use it. It depends on the exact temperature that you're holding it in your refrigerator, but I recommend using it within 5 days. Okay. You'll see some separation after a day or two, and you can just go ahead and whisk it back up, and it's fine.
So if you were to make the full bag, how much total water did you use? I know you started with 4 quarts of warm water, and then you added up to 8, but total, how much water?
Sure, and I'll repeat both of those questions. I'm sorry, I forgot to repeat them for the video. Just asking if A, you can store and refrigerate and store the mix, which yes, you can for up to 5 days. And secondly, how much total water are we adding to the mix, to the powder to make the froconet base? And the answer to that, the technical answer is, if we're trying to make, let's say we're trying to make 1 gallon, you're going to add 2,730 milliliters of water. Now, that's kind of an odd number to remember, and also, but we send it out. If you want to know that, I can shoot you an email and say, hey, this is how much water you have to add to make exactly 3 gallons. Or, but more importantly, especially when you're making flavors like, let's say you're using a fruit puree or frozen fruit or adding any kind of water content to the mix, you actually, instead of thinking in terms of water that you're adding, you want to think in terms of total yield. So let's say you add the powder, you do your first gallon, blend it all up, add the fruit puree, let's say you're adding like a quart. Then basically you blend that up and just fill that up to the 2-gallon line, and you know that you're getting that exact amount of water content that you should be getting. So you can do it either way, though. It's personal preference. Oh, yes?
Does adding less water makes a creamier product?
Does adding less water affect the product? Is that
makes a creamier product?
Up to a point. So you can reduce the amount of water content by about 10% at the most before you start to kind of affect the product negatively. But yeah, up to that 10% reduction, it will create a slightly creamier, denser product. So unless there are any other questions, we can get started on the ube flavor. Are we doing the ube first?
Yes.
All right. So this one is already aged.
All right. Then I think I'll pour it right in here first. Now, the ube powder from the Yam, which I said is very popular in the Philippines and Indonesia area, I got this on Amazon, so it's not hard to find. This is not something I've seen on the East Coast, but it's quite popular in Southern California as a flavor. So I also found not only the ube powder, and again, I've never tasted it. I also got from McCormick. You think they could have given me a bigger bottle? That's McCormick. You know McCormick spices. And that's not going to be found in the supermarket, at least not around here in Brooksville, Florida. We're all about ribs and hamburgers and that. But you can get that from more McCormick.
Is that a flavor or a color?
It's an extract.
Oh, okay.
So, no, you don't need the color because that's bright purple.
Yeah. And just as you mentioned with the popularity in Southern California, it's not just ube, it's several or kind of a whole variety of Asian flavors that are steadily being imported and becoming the next big thing in LA, and then slowly kind of makes its way around the country, like matcha. Matcha is a Japanese green tea powder that's we actually now produce a matcha version of the mix.
Wow, that much demand for it.
Yeah, especially in just certain pockets in LA, in increasingly like New York area, it's more popular. But yeah, you've got black sesame that's becoming popular. So it's always, there are always more flavors to experiment with. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the fun thing about this business.
And it's not going to replace, it's not going to replace vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. But it's fun to have these different flavors and know about them, so you can run them, put them in as a flavor of the week to attract some attention. There's Salt and Straw does a lot of this. You mentioned the other place, my customer.
Afters ice cream.
Yep. Molly Moon's. A lot of these places on the West Coast will experiment with different things. On the East Coast, we experiment with how many more different kinds of cookies can we put in ice cream.
Always a good experiment.
So I'm going to see if I can bring that up to the camera. Can you see that? Jack?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you got that?
Yes, sir.
So that's a very interesting flavor. You know what? I think I'm going to taste it before we get going to see what if we might need more.
It's looking pretty purple.
Well, it should be purple.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
So let's see. That's a nice flavor. I think I'm going to add some more. Now, when you're making ice cream, I I run into a lot of people who want to buy one of the small machines, which I'm happy to sell you over here, and experiment for a year or two. Well, I'm old school. I believe you set a goal and you get into business. You don't have to experiment for a number of years. Ice cream making, to me, is mathematical. Just like if you told me I had to bake a birthday cake. Well, what is a birthday cake? It's flour, sugar, water, and flavor. And if you pick up a cookbook, it's going to tell you how much flour to how much sugar to how much water and approximately how much flavor you should use. And you'll end up with a great birthday cake. That's your first batch. Your second batch, you're going to adjust it. You're going to taste this today, and Jeff's going to say you didn't put enough flavor in, and so maybe we'll increase the amount of flavor. And then you'll come up with a third batch, which will be your own personal flavor, your own personal taste, and there you go. You've made 3 batches to come up with a new flavor. I really don't think that it's any harder than that. Yes?
Yeah, let me just check. So what we have in there, here, can we just go through this? So what we have in this?
This is the dairy-free coconut from Mami's. It's got a packet and a half of the ube. How many ounces is this? Can you see?
Yeah, it's 4.
So we put in about 6 ounces of ube and about a teaspoon of the McCormick extract.
And again, we're using essentially half the bag. We're using the half of the batch of the coconut to make 1 gallon.
Are you going to add the vanilla?
Yes. Thank you. I'm going to put it in now. I am notorious for leaving things out.
You could probably get away without using vanilla, but it's
You
gonna,
think?
I mean,
Well, I didn't. First, we had to find it.
well, that's
It was here.
Be a
Jeff,
challenge.
did you? Right in front of me.
I'm not.
Look at that, right there. What would we do without Jeff? All right, so I'm going to put just about an ounce of vanilla in.
Can't hurt.
No. Vanilla enhances everything. There we go. Okay.
Wow, I'm kind of on the edge of my seat. I've never tried ube ice cream in general, and I've never tried it with our mix. So this is an experiment.
If I want that coconut first, what would I do?
You would do it right now, and you would buy the sweetened coconut from the supermarket. And Jeff and I like to find things to disagree on, but we'll agree on this one. I say cane sugar is cane sugar, and he says buy the best. When it comes to coconut flakes, I've bought the store branded. Oh, it is so chewy and awful. Buy the best there is. It's sweetened coconut flakes, and you could definitely put that in if you wanted. But it's really not necessary because there's such a nice flavor coming from the blend. It's a nice background taste. Let me get this going. I'm going to run this at super premium, which I can explain. That's turning. Turn on the refrigeration.
How many RPMs is that?
About 165, but it only applies to my machine.
Right.
You can't set. There is no other machine on the market that you can set. And
Yeah.
and even if you could, it wouldn't apply.
Well, believe it or not, most of the people who are using our mix are also using your machines, so it translates pretty well, I think.
At the super premium level.
Yeah. I've heard some people doing it as high as 200 RPM, but that's kind of pushing it, I think. The 165 is going to give it.
Yeah. The faster you spin it, the more air it's going to have. Air is not a bad thing. We make everything. We started companies from Breyers and Hershey's to Bluebell to Haagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry. Haagen-Dazs is very dense, and they have a very specific market. You buy a pint, and you take a taste of it when you bring it home. Another small portion for dinner, a little bit at 11 o'clock at night, another spoonful. You pick at Haagen-Dazs. It's so heavy that if you sat down and ate the whole pint, you're going to feel really full. Jeff's ice cream, when you go to Mystic Ice Cream and Ices, is a full flavored ice cream. It's a large portion, and it leaves you feeling refreshed, not laden down like Haagen-Dazs, but leaves you feeling fresh so you say, gee, I think I'll buy another one. And that's what we're looking for. People get too hung up on fat content, on overrun. Nobody ever walked out of a store and said, "Oh, gee, I can't wait to go back to Jeff's place because he has the best fat content I ever ate." You don't make comments like that. You say, "Wow, his mint chip was really minty, and the chocolate chips were high quality. They weren't chalky like the store brand he's buying Ghirardelli." And that's what makes a great ice cream. People eat flavor. Everything else is secondary. Another way to look at air is you have a birthday cake and a pound cake. They're both great cakes. Pound cake's very heavy, very dense. Birthday cake's very light. Ask yourself, which would you rather have a second piece of after dessert? Birthday cake or pound cake? And I know the answer. It's birthday cake. It's full, it's flavorful, it's refreshing, and it leaves you wanting more. Yes, sir. You have to speak up.
Yeah. You're putting a packet of the powder with the yam. In addition, tablespoon of ube extract. Any particular reason why you put both?
Any reason I didn't do what? The question was, why did I use both ube, yam, and the extract? And the reason is I know that extract, I don't know how strong the yam flavor is. I know that when I eat a regular yam at Thanksgiving and don't like them, it's a bland flavor. Maybe that's why I don't like it. We all love a baked potato because it's smeared with a ton of butter and maybe some bacon and other good stuff. So I wanted to play safe and add a little extract. I've not seen any recipe where you use both. So we're going to find out. I go by the Jeff Markow school of ice cream. Too much is never enough. So if you think you've got too much flavor in there, you don't have enough flavor in there. People eat flavor. Yes, sir. I'm not trying to mask the coconut flavor at all. The coconut flavor will always be a background. And in fact, what I have found is Nate and I have made coffee, Bavarian chocolate, we've made strawberry, we made a product called Hawaii. We've done a lot of flavors, and close your ears. The only one that doesn't work for me with the coconut base is vanilla, because the vanilla extract, standalone, and the coconut are fighting for world dominance, and neither one wins out. But everything else, your flavor is so predominant that the coconut background is just that. It's a background flavor, and it's really, really nice. And you ask about different ways of doing it. So there's soy, there's cashew, there's a lot of different things, and that's why they never took off on the market, because they just didn't hit the mark. They were bland. There was a product out, I don't know if it's still around, called Soylicious. Beautiful container. It had dark black colors with streaks of different variations of blue on it coming up. It was gorgeous. And in my opinion, don't sue me, that product was horrible. And so I don't know where it is today, but this product is absolutely delicious. One other thing about this product you need to know is the coconut base and the processing costs more than dairy. We have, millions of cows here in the United States. We don't have millions of coconut palm trees. So the cost is higher for the powdered product, and that's fine. It's a specific standalone product. It's like if you're selling ice cream and you want to sell milkshakes, you may get $5 for your ice cream, but you can get $7 for the milkshake, because they're two uniquely different products. Normally, I don't like two price structures. It's confusing, but I would have no problem with having my dairy ice creams at say $4 a scoop, and my dairy-free at $5.25. I have not done the math. I don't know if that works, but I know it's going to work very well. It's going to be very profitable. But it does cost more, so I wouldn't just factor it in with the other ice creams. And it's a different market.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I have done the math, luckily, and by and large, you're going to end up making more profit per scoop from the dairy-free. because depending on the dairy mix you use, I mean, dairy mixes run different rates all around the country and different fat levels, but you know, at most you're looking at spending an extra 25 to 50 cents per scoop using the coconut mix. So if you charge $1 extra, you're making at least 50, you know, maybe 75 cents more per scoop. So that's, like you said, it's going to cost more to start with, but then once you factor in, you know, the premium that people are willing to pay, it works out for sure.
Sometimes I have to get my customers to go kicking and screaming into the 21st century. I have a lot of old-fashioned ice cream parlors that have been around for 60, 70 years, making a ton of money. And when they call up to order a part once every 10 years, I tell them about this product, and they say, what do I need that for? I've got all these customers. I drive a nice car. I've got a lot of money. I've been very successful all these years. You need it because there are 85 million people, potential people, who are not walking through your door because you don't have dairy free. You know, just add it for a while. This is, I'm convinced, because I've been studying trends and fads for 45 years. This is a trend. It will never, like I said, replace ice cream, but it's in addition to. Just give me 2 slots in your dipping cabinet and you watch how the lines go. It's amazing. Yes? Yeah, speak up.
Yeah, let's suppose we're changing the flavor from yam to strawberry. How do you determine how much of the strawberry flavor?
Okay,
Sure.
The question was, what if we switch from yam to strawberry? Well, first off, which one's darker, the strawberry or the yam? The yam is, so I should have made the strawberry first and then make the yam. There'll be so little strawberry left in the machine that I can go right over it with the ube and you're never going to notice it. So plan your production down that way. And I have specific amounts that I put in depending on the machine. My general rules of thumb: if it's a 24-quart machine and it was strawberries, I'd put in 2 quarts of strawberries. 10-quart machine, I put in 1 quart of strawberries. 6-quart machine, I put in half a quart of strawberries. And then some. Since I now work with Jeff, I put in more flavor. So these are things to experiment. But you wanted to say something about it?
Oh yeah. I was also just going to mention that we have starting point recipes for fruit flavors, including strawberry, that we send out, you know, to all of our customers. So there's a general formula you can use with fruit flavors. Kind of what Steve mentioned, you know, a quart for this amount or half quart for that amount. And honestly, it also depends on where you're getting your strawberries from, what kind of flavoring you're adding. We recommend a company called Green Mountain Flavors that makes really good natural flavor concentrates, and they have a variety of fruit flavors available, like mango, strawberry, blueberry, etc. But you can use anything you can add to a dairy ice cream. You can add to the coconut mix and make dairy-free ice cream. So,
Yes? A little more? Okay. I may have to move you forward so I can hear. We're going to have 100 questions. How much what? A 10-quart machine is going to use approximately 1 quart of strawberries.
and would you add a flavor extract or concentrate to that as well?
Oh, good question. Well, you're on a mic. I don't have to repeat it, do I? Certain flavors are just incredibly weak. Cantaloupes, honeydew melons, watermelon. These drive executive chefs crazy because they're so rare. I mean, they're so thin. Like that? Okay, we'll get back to that.
Well, you go a little
Going to turn off the refrigeration and watch how fast this comes out.
Oh, it looks good.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's a nice color right there. So it tastes as good as it looks. Right on time.
Yep. If you've got a weak flavor, like honeydew melon, I like to use honeydew melons, but I also bolster the flavor with an extract. And you mentioned Green Mountain Flavors, which is not in Vermont. It's in Oswego, Illinois, and the president is a gentleman named Stan Sitton. And it's at my website. And they make all natural flavors. I tell this story over and over again, but basically he sent me some red dye. And I said, I'm not using red dye 40 chemical in my ice cream. He said, no, it's not a chemical. It's from beets. Beets are the reddest thing in nature. And so he has made a red dye from beets. That's pretty neat. All right, so now we're going to find out if this works as a flavor.
This is definitely a moment of truth right now. This
Yes.
is a world premiere, actually.
This is a
First
world.
batch.
This is a world premiere.
Ube and Frocohnut.
Okay, so we're gonna come over here. We can move some of this stuff down.
Yeah.
And whoops. All right, I'll be the first guinea pig.
You can do that.
Dish it up. I think I want to get one taste first, just so I know what I'm getting into.
I can't decide. I really can't. Uh-oh. So you're the test market. Come on up. It's free.
Wow, that is an exotic flavor.
You mind scooping?
Yeah. I like it. Yeah, I like it. Let's see, I'm trying to do some mental math. I don't think we're going to run out, so.
No, we'll never run out. If you knew ube like I know ube. So now you're trying something that has never been done before at Emery Thompson. But it can be done.
I mean,
Now,
that's-
because of that flavor and the
impressive.
purple color, I'm going to put a rinse through
you
the
go.
machine. I'm just going to put some warm water in, slosh it around for 30 seconds, and I'll be good for my next product. But Jeff is next.
Sure, yeah,
You want water?
Thanks.
absolutely.
Okay, break time's over. Break time's over. Ready? I never know what to make. So before I come here, last night I just went to the supermarket, which is my philosophy, and I found a can, a giant can of mandarin oranges, and it was $4. So I'm in. So I bought it, and this is what was in the can, minus a little of the juice. So we'll put it in the Ninja, and we'll see what we get here. Beats me. Blueberry. So this is a lot of liquid. Cream ice, which is sherbet. Same thing. Cream ice and sherbet are the same thing. And my formula for cream ice is 3-2-1. 3 quarts of water, 2 pounds of sugar, 1 quart of ice cream mix. I don't see anybody writing down. 3-2-1. Oh, well. And then we've got this stuff, which was, I also found this, which is, I'm a big fan of Hispanic food markets, because Hispanics really know what good dessert is. It's flavorful, sweet, horchata, which is one I found there. And then I found this, which is orange shells, they call it. S-H-E-L-L-S, orange shells. And I didn't know what it was, but when I open it up, I see that it's orange shells. I don't know what it is. So let's take 3 quarts of water, 2 pounds of sugar, and mix it up. What was that? 3, 2, 1. You figure it out. What?
When you're mixing these flavors and trying all these new flavors, would the same thing you would use for ice cream be the same thing you could use for Italian ice?
No. You can use similar flavors. You can make this ice cream But as far as the measurements and stuff, is that what you're asking?
The actual ingredients you're using.
Take your time, get your question straight.
The actual flavoring that you're using. Like you said, you'll go to the supermarket.
Yeah, it'll work. Well, flavor's flavor, isn't it? Flavor's flavor. Cherry ices, cherry sherbet, cherry ice cream. Yeah, I think so. The amounts, I don't know. But we're going to do that later, right? We're going to learn how to create a recipe later, how to create the amounts that you'll need for the product. So pay attention, all right? Okay. So this is 3 quarts of water with sugar dissolved in it. How much sugar? 2 pounds of sugar. In the back. I'm right there. All right, so we have 3 quarts of water, 2 pounds of sugar. You got any of those free yet? No?
Yeah. One of these guys?
That's right, I'll use this one.
Okay.
Is this one done?
No.
No. Still got, that's right, ube, yeah, ube. All right, this is a 12-quart machine, yes.
Sorry to cut you off so abruptly, but the water that they're using here is just regular water from the tap, nothing filtered. Nothing.
Correct.
Okay.
And boy, it's good. So we're putting in 3 quarts of water with 2 pounds of sugar dissolved in it. And 1 quart of ice cream mix. Cream, milk. So this is now the base for any sherbet. You put that in the machine, now you can play. You can throw anything else you want in it and experiment, have fun. I'm not going to pre-taste this or anything because you're eating it, so I don't care. If it's good, it's a winner. If it's not, oh well, you move on. I think it'll be all right. This is what I'm a little concerned about. I didn't know that this would be so watery. So what should we do? Use a little. Let's use a little. Well, I can't strain it now. When it came out of the can, they were these mandarin orange wedges, you know, those little orange things you pop in your mouth, and they were good. So in hindsight, I probably would have mixed those in the Ninja and used the little orange pieces in there. But it's too late now. So we'll use some of this. Oh, it looks pretty good, actually. Yeah, we'll use it all. And I really want to see what happens with this stuff. Orange shells. I don't want to go over, kill the machine. All right, we got room. All right, we'll see what happens. Everything in there? 3, 2, 1, and then stuff. Okay. We'll fire it up, and we'll see what happens.
You don't add any vanilla with that? Or do you
No, I generally don't add vanilla to a water product. You could. You probably should, but I don't know. Who said that? Remember our deal, right? Only good questions.
Yes, I know. But this one has different speed. I know you said that yesterday to keep it
What's the speed for sherbet? I don't know. I don't know. Right now it's on 234. Okay? Got to tell them what it is, right? I don't know. So any questions about sherbet? Sherbet is cream ice. Now let me just, before you ask that question, let me tell you what the deal is. There's really three things that you can make that are related. You can make Italian ices. You know about Italian ices. Everybody knows about Italian ices. Everybody knows about ice cream. In the middle of those two, there's cream ice. Nobody knows about cream ice. Cream ice is sherbet. Now, you can make a fortune selling cream ice, but unfortunately, you can't put a sign out in front of your place, cream ice. Nobody's going to come in. It sounds kinky. So, sherbet, nobody's coming in either. Who wants to go to a store? You want to go out for sherbet? No. You want to go out for Italian ices? Yeah. Let's go out for ice cream? Sure. But nobody's going to get off the couch and say, let's go for sherbet. It's just not going to happen. So, you have to disguise what you're selling. Cream ice is a phenomenal product. Phenomenal product. And I guess nobody said anything? Jeff, turn on the refrigeration. You'll keep the time for me, all right? Okay. You don't need a timer. A timer is a crutch when both your legs work fine. Okay? So, cream ice. I have a friend of mine. I lived in Fort Lauderdale for many years, and he opened up a store that sells only cream ice. About 100 flavors of cream ice, exotic stuff. I mean, not chocolate cream ice. He's got exotics in cream ice. But he was smart. He didn't call it Joe's cream ice or Joe's sherbet because you can't. Nobody's coming. So he called it Cecily's Gourmet Italian Ices. They're not Italian ices, but people know Italian ices, so they're going to come into his store. And his store is wildly successful. It has been for some 10, 12 years now. Maybe a little more, maybe 13, 15 years. Wildly successful. I mean, I'm talking lines every night, out the door. He's got 2 24-quart Emerys in the back. It's ridiculous. Being across the street from a school doesn't hurt either. But that's not what made his business. What made his business is a phenomenal product, cream ice. And still, when people go there, they don't say, let's go for cream ice. Let's go to Cecily's, let's have some Italian ices. It's not Italian ices, but it doesn't really matter. It's a great way to bring them into a product that nobody knows about. Who here is from west of Pennsylvania? Is this working? Am I on? Everybody here is from east of Pennsylvania? So why didn't you raise your hand before when I asked? No. Well, this isn't a raise. That's why you did this. Idaho people do this. Anyway, most of the people east of Pennsylvania, which is the whole eastern seaboard up there, know about Italian ices. So you're pretty good opening an Italian ice place, no matter what you're selling. He opened an Italian ice place and he sells cream ice. Only cream ice. There's no Italian ices in there. No ice cream in there. Cream ice. Terrific. So anyway, that's what we're going to try. We're going to try orange cream ice. See what it tastes like.
So what makes it cream ice is that you use the same ice cream base and you're whipping it at the same speed.
What makes it cream ice is that Italian ices is water, sugar, and flavor. Ice cream is mix or blend or whatever you want to call that. Cream, I call it, cream and flavor. So cream ice is the in-between. It's more than water, sugar, flavor, less than full cream and flavor. It's right in the middle because it's 3, 2, 1. 3 watt. 2 watt. 1 watt. 1 quart of mix, right. Unfortunately, like Steve says, this will always be mixed. That's just what it is. Hang on 1 second. Yes?
So we're making cream ice right now. So we're going to mix our ice cream. What are we making? 3, 2, 1.
Everybody, what are we making?
Cream ice. Okay, good. Now, if you have to make ice cream, what's the adjustment to the formula?
We're not making ice cream.
No, let's suppose, let's say...
Oh, no. We're not in the suppose business. We're making cream ice. If you stay another hour, we'll make ice cream.
I'm here.
Okay. Let's get rid of this. Let's just put this up here. It'll stay cold. Oh, by the way, it's time to hawk my book. My philosophy is very different. I suggest that you go to the supermarket and buy all the stuff you need. Take your wagon, go up and down the aisles. Whatever you see that you think will make good ice cream, buy it. Whether it's M&M's, not tuna fish, M&M's, Snickers, Famous Amos cookies, cheesecake mix. Whatever you see that'll make good ice cream, buy it. And this will tell you how to use it. What? This is normally 60. You paid 60. It's 50 because Steve gets his cut. No, that's not true. But it's $50. And if you buy it today, there's no shipping. Okay, what else? Cream ice. Hold it. I don't know. Let's see if. Hang on. I don't know if let's see, just relax. Everybody, keep your shirt on here. Come on, be there. Wouldn't it be something to pull out an ice cream cone now? That would be good. Oh, hold it. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Why don't you take it at the store? Tell me about it.
You tell me.
Well, you pay a fee.
No, that has nothing to do with it. You tell me.
Because of your employees?
Time. Why don't we? I don't take credit cards at my store. So Gary, who was in my class this week, asked, why don't I use this at the store? And the reason is the lines are considerable in my store, and this is just going to log jam. So, but here, no log jam here. All right, what else? Who's in business already? This is not a raise. This is a raise. Oh, you're in business. Where's your place?
Here in Public House area.
And what do you have? What kind of
Italian ice.
Italian ices?
Italian.
Excellent. Excellent. Italian ice is extremely profitable. I mean, the most profitable percentage-wise of all the frozen desserts, because your costs are simply water, sugar, flavor. Whatever the flavor is, and your flavors in even Italian ice can be so exotic, and it's not going to affect your profit very much at all. Your profit is built in. The downside of Italian ices is the perception by the public of value. I can charge $6 for a cup of ice cream. You can't charge $6 for a cup of ices. So you need that percentage more customers. Presuming where you are, you'll get them, or your marketing's good, you'll get those extra customers. But that's the deal on that. Now, cream ice, which is what we're making, falls into a sort of a gray area because you can charge a little more. Now, Evan down in Fort Lauderdale with the place I told you about, he uses 12-ounce wax Dixie cups. And it's scoop, 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 spoon, out. And that used to be $4.50, and nobody minded. I'm sure it's over $5 now. But the perception goes from Italian ices to cream ices to ice cream. And then gelato's another story. But gelato won't be around very long. You heard it here first. I guess I should try this, even though it's too late now.
Is it great?
Of course it's great. Cream ice.
Really?
Cream ice,
Oh,
huh?
I love cream ice.
But it is that gray area. You know, people don't know it. If you put a sign cream ice, you're not going to have customer one in there.
Not unless you're in New York or from New York.
Right. And even then, cream ice, I don't know.
Oh, I like
Exotic ices would work.
I like the name cream ice. 'Cause
It's
I'm
what
used
it
to
is, right?
Yeah.
It's Italian ices with a little cream in it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Anybody else? No? It's a quiet crowd. I got a question. How do you know when it's ready? What? Who said that? What is it? A peak. When you test a little bit and it saves a peak, that's when, to me, it's ready. When you put it in the bucket and it goes like that, it's not quite ready. So a peak.
I have a question. How would this compare? How would this product compare to the composition of like a creamsicle? Is it similar? Or is it...
Well, the creamsicle, you mean this?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
those are rock hard.
Sure, but
But-
does it have dairy content?
Creamsicle is orange sherbet and vanilla ice cream.
Okay, so okay.
So the vanilla ice cream has the cream in it. The orange sherbet has less, but still some cream.
Hi.
One of the wildly
sneaking
popular
out?
flavors in my store is
Are you
creamsicle,
sneaking out?
where we make orange sherbet and take our vanilla ice cream and swirl it together.
Stay here. Okay.
We are almost ready. Spoons. See the peak that we're holding? It's not just dissolving. You didn't see that. What was that?
On these Italian ices, you call them sorbetos or sorbets. Is there a marketing strategy there? It's the same thing.
Sorbet is Italian ices. Sherbet is cream ice.
Yeah, but isn't an Italian ice the same as a sorbeto?
Sorbet, yeah, same thing.
Can you use that name as a charge more if you call them
I don't understand. Okay, I think we're ready. That's a nice color. Okay.
Well, I'm from the West, and Italian ice is a cheap product. But sorbet, just that word.
I don't like something called sorbeto.
Yeah, but on the West, here, you guys are all from the East, I get it. No one knows what Italian ice is. But sorbeto or sorbet, they give that.
Yeah. Yes, water ice. Okay, you want to try this? I don't know.
You know me, I'm always first in line.
Thanks, Jay.
When you freeze this, is it going to be a little bit harder? Or like the liquor? Like the liquor? You know how the liquor is harder with ice cream? Or this,
It depends on the temperature you freeze it at,
which is
the factor. This should be pretty refreshing.
Could use a little bit more flavor, but it's really good. also just making a trip to the grocery store and you found a can?
What's that?
You're just walking down the aisle, found a can of mandarin orange and said, hey.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
And it was $4, so I'm there.
It's pretty brilliant.
Oh, we had too much.
He's saying just eat it.
This is good.
Thank you.
The shipping works out.
Did you get a text from me? Did it look okay?
You live in Illinois?
Indiana.
Indiana.
It's like really, Bloomington's a college town.
How you like it?
I do. I like it. I can determine if I like it whether I can eat more than one plate.
And shipping on the plane is
Sure.
yeah. If it were liquid, it would be bad. But since it's powder,
Pretty good.
it's good. It'll be, yeah. For
Okay, folks, if you want to take your seat, we're going to get going. Well, I'll bring my mic up. Thank you. Okay, we're going to make another dairy-free product while we have Nate here. Nate's a busy man. He's got a flight to catch, so we're going to make another product. We're going to make Mississippi Mud. There are a lot of variations on this. Normally it's sold as a pie with whipped cream on top. We're going to make it into, excuse me, a dairy-free ice cream so that you can see that you can, I'm always trying to show you things, so I want to show you that you can take virtually any ice cream and make it in a dairy-free version. So we're going to pass this out to you. That's going to be the formula. And it's one of these free-wielding formulas like Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster is generally chocolate chip cookies, Oreo cookies, Hershey's syrup, chocolate chips, and anything else that happens to be lying around in the kitchen. So there's no one definition of Mississippi Mud, but this is going to be my version. And one of the things we're going to use is pecan pralines. So they're sweetened pecans. And a trick that Jeff taught me, I used to make, you're going to make M&M ice cream later, right? I used to take M&Ms and throw them in the machine, and it would grind them up somewhat, but not completely. Jeff throws them into a Ninja blender and pulverizes them so that for every particle, so when you pour that into the machine, every particle of dairy,
Killing my whole presentation here.
I won't say any more. We're going to have a lot of good taste out of these, so we're going to grind them up in the Ninja. I know you just sat down, but you're the Ninja King. And these Ninja blenders,
the Ninja Queen.
I bought my wife Paula one of these great fancy blenders for making drinks. It can't hold a handle to that $99 Ninja blender. I mean, that thing would just chew up anything.
Those are serious.
It's really great. These two.
This one's for snacking.
Those are add-ons.
Well, I think they're maybe too
Kevin?
big.
Yeah.
You think they're too big, or are they okay?
To blend up?
No, to add on.
Oh, I see.
You know what? Why don't you just put them on the table here, take this knife, and just give them a couple of whacks.
Yeah, okay.
Or we
All
can
right.
just put them in the Ninja and you blast it in for like a few seconds.
It doesn't, the Ninja doesn't work that way.
Instant pulverize.
It pulverizes everything. I'll just break them up. So while I'm talking, I'll take every one of these tedious ones and break it in half, and we'll add those on top. So we'll get to that. So I'm going to use the vegan blend, if you'll pour that in.
So, yeah, we're not going to, since we already did a demonstration of
we better wait.
We good? Okay. We already did a demonstration of how to, add the water to make the 2 gallons of this bag. So we used the first gallon for the ube flavor. We're going to use the second gallon for this Mississippi Mud. And I think I forgot to mention this in the first video. These bags, like I said, they yield 2 gallons of the Froconet dairy-free ice cream mix each. And they're 8 to a case. So 1 case is 44 pounds, 8 of these bags.
How much do they take?
I don't want to say it on the video because the price changes. So after
Usually down. It's been going down.
Yeah, it's actually going down.
Been going down in price.
Edit that out.
Now,
we'll get to it after the video, but it's comparable. It's come down quite a bit since we started. As we get bigger, we're able to lower the price, luckily, and it's actually at the point where it's comparable to like a premium dairy mix. But I'll give you the exact price after the video, because it's always changing, like you said, hopefully going down.
Yeah.
Anyway, we already have this blended up. We've got a gallon of it here of the coconut mix, and
you can go ahead and pour that in
right into the machine right now.
Yeah, and since it's Grandma's old recipe, actually Grandma didn't know how to make ice cream. My father used to make the world's worst ice cream. You would think growing up that life would be wonderful and I would have fantastic ice cream. Well, Dad and Emery Thompson Jr., my uncle, who was named after Emery Thompson, my grandfather, their idea of making ice cream, they only made vanilla. And when they made ice cream, it was to test the machine. Back then, the drive for this machine was a motorcycle chain. So if it takes 8 minutes to make a batch of ice cream, they'd run it for an hour and a half to see what it would take to break the chain. And then they would bring this stuff home to us kids for ice cream to have at night. It was horrible. We used to go out to, it was a joy to go out to Baskin Robbins to get ice cream because the stuff Dad was bringing home was terrible. But you know what? You ask anybody, and this is what's so wonderful about dairy products and frozen desserts of all kinds, is I bet every one of you can recollect where you used to go to get ice cream. It's just something that's ingrained in us, and it's usually a very pleasant memory, except for my father's ice cream. That's what makes it more fun about it, is that you're part of the community, you're part of everybody's memory of, oh, that's where we went for this really great product. So we're going to use a little bourbon. And the dairy-free is already in there?
It's already in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to add approximately 4 ounces of bourbon.
Well,
Otherwise, it wouldn't be a southern flavor if you didn't have bourbon. So it's got to have a little of that. That's a 3.5 ounce cup.
I wonder how much you can add before. Would this still be below the legal limit for alcohol content?
Oh, we don't worry about that. We just worry about tasting.
And that's today's lesson.
I can tell you that this is the only machine that you can add massive quantities of alcohol to and still have it freeze. Nobody else can do that. But we have so much freezing power that in Jeff's machine, I could put in a whole quart.
Yeah, so you don't have to adjust
problem.
the recipe or anything.
No, not at all. But other machines, see, the alcohol never freezes. The alcohol stays in suspension. So we can put anything in, and it'll keep running. So I've got the coconut blend. I've got the bourbon. Jeff ground up the pecans. There they are. So we'll get this started.
Oh man, it smells good. I think this one's going to be a crowd pleaser. That's my prediction.
I hope so.
And I just wanted to clarify one thing, because this came up after the ube flavor. The mix itself, the coconut dairy ice cream mix itself is going to give you a smooth consistency. I mean, there's no particles. It's going to be completely dissolved and smooth. Of course, when you're adding something like ground up pecans, that's going to add its own textures, and some crunch and grittiness. But the base itself is completely smooth. So that was a question that came up a couple times.
Now I'm going to start the refrigeration because it's going to take 8 minutes, and I want to get it going, even though I still have other ingredients to put in. And add some Hershey's syrup.
Oh wow, that's the good stuff.
Yep. Maybe
a
one
little.
of these spoons will do.
No small spatulas, right?
This is the mud.
And
that's just Hershey's chocolate syrup. Great stuff.
It's dairy free, I hope.
Is dairy? No, it's not. I mean, chocolate isn't dairy. Chocolate isn't dairy free, is it? That's why it says dairy free ice cream, sort of.
Let me see.
I don't think chocolate is dairy free, is it, Jeff?
This is.
Is it?
Hershey's syrup in this container is dairy free. I'm reading the ingredients right now.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought so. I don't think that is dairy-free, so...
Okay, but that's why the recipe says sort of.
Use this one, the Hershey's dairy-free, or Hershey's original chocolate syrup.
Yeah, but see, I have a story for everything.
Let me see this one.
When I was dating Paula 15 years ago, Paula's father was a retired NYPD, New York Police Department. And the old man loved ice cream. So I thought, well, I'm going to date Paula, and I'm 59 years old, and I'm going to bring over ice cream, win the old guy over. And so I bring some of my great ice creams over, and he says, I don't eat that, I only eat the no sugar added. I go, oh, well, that was a bad idea. And with that, he goes to the freezer, pulls out his Breyer's no sugar added ice cream because he's watching his weight. He weighed about 98 pounds. And he's scooping the ice cream and he puts it in. Then he goes to the refrigerator and pulls out a big, huge jar of Smucker's butterscotch and pours half the thing all over it. I'm going, so much for the sugar-free. Well, the reason I mentioned that, and I said on here, Mississippi mud, almost dairy-free, because one of these days the millennials are going to do like my father-in-law. There's going to be a blending of where they're going to say, oh no, I don't eat any dairy, but could you put some more whipped cream on that banana split?
It's true. It actually is.
That's
true.
going to happen.
Well, the truth is, there are a lot of people out there, especially in the younger demographics, who they're gravitating towards dairy-free and vegan options, but they're not 100% strict. So
no, they'll eat
it wouldn't
Haagen-Dazs.
bother them really. Like, oh, there's one ingredient that has dairy. That being said, this is dairy-free. Also, we actually make a chocolate version of the base. So for this flavor, we could have used the chocolate base, which already has cocoa added to it, and it's still completely dairy-free. So that would be the easiest route.
An ounce of vanilla.
There you go.
Now, I have to tell you, these videos are seen all over the world, thousands and thousands of people. We sell in 171 countries, and I can't tell you the number of people who have called up complimenting me with a really backhanded compliment. But that's what I'm trying to show you today. The backhanded compliment is they say, gee, if that idiot Steve Thompson can do all that, imagine what I could make. And that's what we're trying to do here today. We're trying to teach you that if you can do this, I mean, Jeff sat in the back row back there years ago and just looked and said, look at that full Steve Thompson. I can't believe he can even run a machine. And here he is today. I mean, the store has been expanded 4 or 5 times, 6 times. You've got about 4,000 square feet of store now. It's unbelievable how big he's grown. He was a little late this morning because his chauffeur was late waking up. But you can make a very successful business with ice cream, ices, dairy-free, all sorts of frozen products. Now I'm going to tediously stand here and break up these pecans. Did we leave anything out? No, we've got the bourbon and the fudge and the vanilla. We had to get rid of that cop, John, for Canine or for the new Sentry canines before I could make this product. I didn't want him standing out there arresting everybody. Any questions? How come you all get together when we break and you have all these questions for each other, but you have nothing? There we go. Yes?
Have you made this without the bourbon? Bourbon just kind of makes me nervous. Maybe you should.
Oh, you don't have to put the bourbon in. It's just it's Southern. I mean, when have you ever had a Southern meal that didn't have bourbon in it?
Touche. I think it'd be just fine without the bourbon. Well,
I don't, as long as I claim what it is. But see, my point here is not to worry about how it's going to sell in the store. My point is to show you what you can do with this machine and how simple it is to do it. So I'm hitting the point of I'm making a vegan product, using a bunch of different ingredients and throwing a little alcohol in it. So I've hit 3 different target markets all at once.
Well, and from a product, recipe standpoint, this is to be fair, the amount of dairy in this jar here compared to the gallon of, coconut mix that we use, it's going to be very small dairy content. So obviously, someone who's avoiding dairy or is vegan wouldn't eat this. But it's, in terms of the product quality, you're going to get a good idea from this. Even though I would recommend either using our chocolate base or a dairy-free chocolate syrup, ideally.
I would probably make this ice cream as a dairy ice cream, like Jeff would do with this product. But I wanted to show you the variety of the dairy-free that you can come out with a fantastic taste, trying to offset the term vegan. Vegan just sounds awful. And my father lived to be 100, my mother was 96, and my mother was trying to make him live to 150. So in his last 5 years, she was feeding him vegan and all this health food, and he got really upset at 95 when I took his car away. Why? Did he want to go anywhere? No, at 95 he didn't want to go anywhere, but he kept his stash of food, of pralines and Hershey bars and cookies in the trunk of his car. He'd say, "Evelyn, I got to go down and get my glasses. I can't see anything." She'd go, "Ted, they're on top of your head." "Oh, wrong glasses. I still got to go down to the car." So when my sister and I took his car, we took his stash of food, because even my wife Paula was vegan when I first met her. And then I introduced her to Hebrew National hot dogs. Well, that cooked on the grill. That ended that for good. She hasn't been vegan since. Yes.
So in ice cream, I know you said that it's usually milk, cream, and clear, like in the bases. So in your base, do you have cream in that?
Oh, it's
or what?
The coconut. So the coconut milk from which the base is made, or that's one of the ingredients. Pretty much, it's analogous to somewhere in between milk and cream, and of course the other ingredients that we use in the mix, that we add to the mix, essentially offset or tweak the formula to be similar to a dairy ice cream mix. So it's not the same process. I mean, it's not like we're using coconut heavy cream and coconut, skim coconut, but the end result is similar.
Coconut cream, which is the way it's sold in the store, is an oxymoron, because it is not cream. The only thing that can be cream is something that came from a cow, but it's just a word that the industry uses.
It's kind of confusing, really, because there's coconut water and there's coconut milk, and when you go to the store, different products will have different fat percentages. So that's one of the reasons that it's easier to use a standardized mix like our mix, because it's the same every time, and it usually ends up saving some money too.
You were saying the case has 4 of those packs, or 8?
Oh, so the question is how many of these come in a case? It's eight of these bags in a case. So the case, it's small enough that you can heft it, in your arms. Right. So 16 gallons total per case.
I tried, before I met Nate, I tried making this on my own using coconut milk, cream of coconut, which comes in a can like you'd find at a bar drink in Key West, sugar and water. And it just didn't come up to it. That's why I couldn't get excited about it. I heard people talking about this new product, and I couldn't reformulate it myself. It was icy. It froze up in the scooping cabinet. It just didn't work for me. This works.
Are you running the machine faster this time than you made the other day?
I'm running this a little faster this time. I want to see the difference. See, I'm always, if I'm going to take the time to run a machine, I'm going to experiment. So you're all my test lab.
Yeah, it's going to be good. What RPM is it now?
I'm at full speed.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
It'll be good. It'll work.
We're almost there. I think I'll switch tubs.
In fact, with the alcohol, that actually might be a pretty good idea.
Oh, that's right. I forgot the alcohol.
It's going to make it a little softer.
Yes. You like that, Jeff?
Is it peaking? Do I ever see peaks?
Sweetener to this?
No.
Oh, it's getting there. It's pretty close.
I think that's just about where I want to be. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a little bit out. Let me turn off the refrigeration. I'm going to put a couple of lines of syrup across it. Going to throw in some nuts. Take out a little more.
Kevin?
Again with the syrup.
Beautiful.
You can feel your teeth falling out right now.
Yeah, this is a dentist's nightmare.
This is a dentist's joy. He wishes you all would eat this.
Yeah, these pralines.
Can I have a spatula, Nate? You have one?
Yeah. Here you go.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Yeah, that looks good.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Throw
So
some.
actually, just taking a look at this, our chocolate mix that we make, it'll probably come out a little bit darker chocolate than that, but I think it would work. I think it would work with this, with everything else in the recipe. People might get seconds on this one.
Oh, that's really heavy. You like that? You see that? Isn't that pretty? Yeah, I didn't have to go to some Italian school to figure out how to do that. You just throw it all in. Okay, come on up and try it. See how it works.
All right.
We think you're cool. We're looking at opening up
go.
in between two universities in Utah, 60,000 kids.
The top is going to be the best part of this one, but so it goes. Mix it together a little bit. There you go. A little bit. There you go. Well, no one should feel pressured to eat, you know, the entire portion. I'm not exactly being mathematical here.
I won't mess, so go ahead. Just
There you go.
for me. Not that I don't doubt that it's delicious.
How is it so far?
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Delicious, Steve.
Good?
Good.
You can tell he's done this before. Maybe not this flavor, but.
Thank you.
Never done this flavor. This was the first time. I guess I'll put it in the repertoire.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. There you go.
Yeah, you need a little more.
Yeah, a little more flair.
Lines in there.
Absolutely. There you are. Right. Oh, sure, sorry.
How is it? Is it good?
There you go. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh.
What do you need?
Bowls.
Bowls. Got them over here.
Thank you, sir. This one's kind of broken. Oops. There you go.
Thank you.
Yes.
Remember you mentioned you educated us that.
It's getting a little wet. Here we go. That's good.
Or higher. Yes.
Or higher.
Yeah.
So the reason I had to ask you a question about
There you are. Welcome.
fat, because now, is this legally?
No, it's not. It's not legally
Yeah,
ice cream.
absolutely.
So Breyers can't sell this.
People are getting mad at me for giving too much.
Breyers,
Good. Really
Breyers has a
pretty.
sign.
Not
They have a
rich
package
like
that shows
Yeah,
a
the
beautiful
ube powder was a
dairy-free
little rough.
mint chip.
So,
and it says
yeah,
in big
yeah, I-
letters,
Really
dairy-free
good, 'cause I don't
mint chip
drink,
and
so
the
it's
cone.
super, like,
And then down below
a lot
it
of
says
bourbon
frozen
to me,
dessert
but
in small
nobody
letters.
else would.
Because they can't
Good.
call it ice cream.
Yeah,
But
I
I always
just
say
haven't
they're
tried
not
some,
going to
Yeah.
come haul you
Yeah.
right in a Chevy
Yeah.
Suburban
You'll like
and take you off to Yemen.
I don't usually
and
eat dairy, but I
interrogate
think
you
it's-
because you call
the
it
amount of dairy in that
dairy-free ice
fudge
cream.
is
But
pretty
that's the
minuscule.
beauty of the name. is not. Yes.
But if I were a vegan, I tend to eat milk and about whatever, you know.
And when you get to people older than me, they're worried. They don't sit down and eat a 10-ounce filet mignon.
When it comes to
too long, it's hard to digest. This is highly digestible.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to contaminate them.
So that's what makes it great.
And everything else in this recipe is vegan except for that this Hershey's fudge here. So if you just honestly, if you just used our chocolate mix, you'd solve that problem. Or you can use the other kind of Hershey's syrup. But yeah, it's not hard to find dairy-free and vegan ingredients these days. I mean, so many ingredients are already vegan, like so many cookies and candies. And yeah, I mean, fruits, chocolate, can all be done.
I didn't know.
If y'all want to have a seat, we'll answer some questions for you. I hope you have questions. Then we'll break for lunch. You're in the. I didn't have the strength to bring in 3 more chairs.
What?
I didn't have the strength to bring in 3 more chairs. They're heavy. But I brought a dog.
No, that's a well-behaved dog.
Didn't you hear the guy? Don't go petting strange dogs.
All right, you want to lead off?
Okay. All right, take your seats. And put your phone away.
You can tape.
All right. This is the part where you get free learning. So any questions you have about product, business, location, anything to do with what your future is going to be, wherever you picture yourself a year from today, you probably have some questions about it. So ask. We'll either tell you what we know or we'll flub our way through it. And look at those hands shoot up.
Everybody knows what they're doing.
Yes, sir.
When you were making the cream ice there versus ice cream, is that dipped at the same temperature? Do you need 2 separate dipping cabinets for that?
That's a good point. The question was, when we made cream ice, does it dip at the same temperature? Obviously not. And he asked, do you need separate freezers? My philosophy is, you can be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Take your best shot. Open up a store that sells one product. That's just my philosophy. I have an ice cream location, and I make really good ice cream. And about 5-6 years ago, I know that since my friend has this cream ice store, I said, well, I can make great ices also, and great cream ice. So I made a batch in one of my classes of cream ice, and it was great. So I made a larger batch, and that night I put free buckets of it on each table. Not buckets, free dishes of it on each table with spoons, and said, help yourself and see what you think. Well, the end of the night, as people are leaving, a few of our regular customers, I would ask them, so what'd you think? And the reaction was 100% consistent. And it was always, Now, I know I made great ices. I know it because I know the business. But it was this. And I finally got to the bottom of it, and the reaction and the explanations were, after trying your full ice cream, everything else tastes like water. And that's what they didn't like. Now, if you open up from the beginning and that's what you sell, I think you're in good shape. But I don't think mixing is fine. Italian ices, even the best Italian ices are going to taste like water next to your ice cream. Does that answer anything? No. What temperature? I don't know. What temperature?
10 degrees. And Italian ice is 16 degrees. And of course, since it's Jeff and me, I disagree with him completely. I think that a frozen dessert business, and Jeff can argue because he's very successful, he's got a very unique business, it's a very unique situation. But for the most part, you're in the frozen dessert business, and I think just selling ice cream would be like me having one size batch freezer. What if you can't afford that size? Or what if you have a need for another size? That's why I have 6 different sizes and 42 variations. I think a mistake would be to sell ice cream and hot dogs. They're not related. or ice cream and cold sandwiches. There's no connection. Or even ice cream and coffee I'm not really a fan of. They say that coffee suppresses your taste buds for ice cream. I would have ice cream ices, dairy-free, and I think I'd stop there. I wouldn't go any further.
What about Jell-O?
I wouldn't have Jell-O, and I wouldn't have yogurt, but I would have some variety. I run the risk of, being a clothing store and you only sell blue suits. Well, what about the person who wants a brown suit or a seersucker?
No, let's deal with apples and apples. A clothing store selling clothing, or on the side you've got French fry concession.
True. Good point.
So clothing is clothing.
All right, I'll find a new analogy.
Ice cream. It's not as though I only sell vanilla ice cream. I have 40 flavors of ice cream, but I think selling those different products, they're going to pale by comparison to your ice cream. Not because your ice cream is so superior, but ice cream is a 10 to 16% butterfat situation, and ices and cream ice is mostly water.
On a hot summer day, nothing is more refreshing than an Italian ice. In this Florida heat, that's why we run 10% fat as opposed to 16 like we run in New York. Because a 16%, oh, you're going to have to leave. A 16% is just too heavy on a hot day. But Italian ice is very cool, very refreshing. I think it's a great alternative.
I think I'll jump in just for a second because this is something that I have given quite a bit of thought to and asked a lot of people, how they decide what to carry and what percentages, and a lot of times your shop is constrained by space and the kind of equipment that you have, which is why sometimes it makes sense just to have one dipping cabinet at one temperature, and then whatever you can sell in that dipping cabinet is what you sell, which is actually why
Aaron, would you have a free moment
when we
later
first
to
started
take
out,
her
we had a
out?
different formulation that you had to have it a little warmer. We actually reformulated our dairy-free mix so that it could go down to 5 degrees or even a little lower. It'd still be scoopable, so you don't have to worry about having a whole separate dipping cabinet, which that can be a deal breaker. So I think it's a judgment call both from a marketing standpoint, which there absolutely is some people have an all dairy-free ice cream shop, some people have only dairy. And there's also the practical considerations of equipment.
Is there any product that you carry that you could add to the mix to make it a little bit more richer in terms of creamy?
You can experiment. So the question was, in general, with any mix, can you add other ingredients to make it creamier? And the answer is yes. So whether it's a traditional dairy ice cream mix or whether it's our dairy-free mix, you can add ingredients to make it creamier. With dairy-free, you might consider adding additional coconut milk from a can. We don't have recipes that specifically give guidelines for that, but I know that some shops out there are doing it. The reason we don't necessarily recommend doing that, and I think this would also apply to dairy mix, is that that's going to be one of the most expensive things you can do is to add additional fat to the mix. So if the customers are happy, unless you have a specific reason why you need it to be a different consistency, then I would say just stick with the original formulation.
Are you saying that to your gallons of mix,
yeah,
it's the difference between that in consistency and end product consistency is the fat?
The difference between there are several factors that influence the consistency in the finished product. So fat would be one of them. The sugar content would be another, which that can be you can adjust the sugar content in a lot of different ways. And then of course the other ingredients that like the stabilizers also influence the final consistency. So I don't like to mess with it too much because with any mix, whether it's a dairy mix or a dairy-free mix, it's formulated to be a certain way. And if you start tweaking it too much, you might have unintended consequences. But it's kind of like Steve was saying, though. You can just throw things in there, and it's going to work out most of the time. So I don't like to tell anyone not to experiment. That's my policy. I say go for it, try a batch. If you like it, run with it.
Okay, Liz.
Yeah, I was just wondering what the main difference between gelato and ice cream is.
Gelato is an 8%, right? A 6-8% butterfat product churned slower. So in effect, what they're trying to achieve is a denser, creamier product.
And the flavors are different. We are vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, Oreo cookie, Mississippi mud pie, all different things with whatever we can think of to come up with. They are very strict. They're hazelnut, pistachio,
Italian stuff.
Fruta de Bosco, which is mixed berries, tiramisu. And my problem with that, our machines, I have a setting on it for which nobody else has, that just says gelato. And it'll take it right to the speed that we want to run gelato at, which is quite low, 140 RPM. So you can absolutely make it. Unless every fifth person walking in or every third person walking in and said, do you have gelato? And you say, no, I'm sorry, and they walked out, I wouldn't be adding gelato. My biggest problem with it is in a typical store, you've got all age ranges. And again, I'm looking at the baby boomers, what we buy, and I'm looking at the millennials, the next biggest group to come along, and I'll throw the Gen Xers in with the baby boomers. So they're walking in, and the Gen Xers, my children, and the millennials will soon be having children, and it is that age group who really drives a lot of most ice cream parlors. And I have yet to see or hear anybody say that their 5-year-old daughter pulled on their mother's dress and said, Mommy, could I please have a tiramisu gelato? I think you're really limiting the market. When gelato was big and it was pushed by the Italians, and of course it was pushed by Cappigiani and Taylor because they had Italian machines, when it was at its height in the early 2000s, gelaterias were opening up everywhere. And for the most part, and everybody can find an exception, so don't write me, for the most part they all failed. And one of the reasons they failed is because the flavors were too narrow. The three of us walk in, and Nate wants a tiramisu gelato. Jeff wants Cookie Monster ice cream, and I want a cherry Italian ice. In this case, they're advertising themselves as a gelateria. They're basically telling us, we'll serve him, but you two go away. We don't have anything. How can you turn away 2/3 of your business? The other thing that went wrong with gelaterias is over in Italy, when I was in Milan, at 10:30 in the morning, you could go get a tiramisu, or you walk into the gelateria and they say, oh, I'm sorry, we ran out of tiramisu a half hour ago. And the Europeans will shrug their shoulders and move on. Because they know there's another gelateria just out of the next corner, they'll get it there. There's no brand loyalty. People come to Jeff because they are loyal to his business. So if he always has on his menu, say, bourbon vanilla, he can't say tonight, oh, I'm sorry we're out of bourbon vanilla, because I'm going to be really upset. I wanted bourbon vanilla. But that's what went wrong with gelaterias. And it still holds true today. And I can see from the crossed arms that you don't believe me and that you're going to do gelato.
I don't like gelato because it is funky flavors and I never really found a flavor that I like.
With an Emery Thompson, if people ask for it, you can make it. And that's the beauty of it.
But honestly, like what we just ate, if you ramp that down to the 150 or whatever the gelato speed was, wouldn't that be gelato?
Yes, it would. I have personally changed gelato a lot. The other thing was they made it fresh every day. And, if you're making it fresh with the willingness to run out, that's fine. That's the European model. The American model is, I only get over to Fruit Loops, once every 5 years, and I want that bourbon mint ice cream or whatever flavor. And if Jeff has run out, I'm going to be really upset. I've been thinking about it for a year. I can't wait to taste it. And then he tells me I'm out.
And you'll get something else and you'll be fine.
Yeah. So Americans keep an inventory of their product. The Italians just say, oh, we're out of that flavor, but try another flavor. That doesn't usually work in the United States.
Just remember, 1 second, young lady. Just remember, I say this every month. There are 6 billion people on this earth.
Yeah.
Every single one of them knows ice cream. Whether they're 6 months old or 100 years old, they know ice cream. Whether you go to South Africa, whether you go to Antarctica, whether you go to California, wherever you go, they know ice cream. Ice cream is dessert. They love ice cream. Everybody loves ice cream. There isn't another product on the face of this earth that is as widely acceptable as ice cream, or widely desirable as ice cream. So think about that when you open up your place.
Which makes it the perfect business to go into.
Of course. It's a no-brainer. There isn't another product that you have a customer base of every single human being. It doesn't exist.
And to also, to your question, there are even lots of ice cream shops that I've come across where they'll run essentially more of a gelato product. I'm talking about dairy. They'll take a dairy ice cream mix, they'll run it lower overrun. It's essentially got the texture and the mouthfeel of a gelato, and they're still advertising it as ice cream because they know that people don't know what gelato is. So you can have a unique product, but you're still doing better off if you just call it ice cream.
I want to take a minute and tell you about the other gigantic thing that I see happening in our industry. Just like there was craft beer, and that we changed the culture of, well, I'm not just going to deal with a six-pack of Bud. I've got to spend $11 or $12 and get this craft beer that's only made in Brooksville, Florida, in small batches. The same thing is happening with ice cream. Ice cream parlors are becoming even more popular than they were. Jeff is right. Everyone wants ice cream, but we're even more popular than before because the discretionary income of the millennials, they're saying, well, I want a really great quality frozen dessert. And so Haagen-Dazs, I was just checking yesterday, Haagen-Dazs is at $5.13 a pint. So is Ben & Jerry. That it works out to about 35 cents, about 35 cents an ounce, I think it is. And that's a pretty high price. But that has become the norm. And what I see what has happened is I'm driving home tonight and I say to myself, bad term, self-gratification. I'm going to reward myself. I had a great day today. It was a wonderful class. I had a lot of fun. I'm going to stop and buy myself a pint of ice cream. And I'll get one for Paula because it wouldn't be fair to come in. So the pint of ice cream is $7. And I could buy a half gallon of Breyers for $3.49 on sale. I will spend the $7 because I'm worth it. It's a reward. And of course, I have to bring one home for Paula. I was at Penn State teaching in January, and I brought this up. And I said, why isn't Haagen-Dazs, for example, sold in half gallons or gallons? And they said, because you'll pay $6 or $7 for a pint, but you won't pay $28 for a gallon of it. You go, oh, $28, I got to rethink this. I'm not worth that. So the pint business is going up dramatically. Now, imagine I walk into your store, and here's where we're selling the ice cream. We've got different flavors of ice cream. Maybe we have some other things going on like milkshakes. I compare it to Starbucks. You've got too many people in line that want a mocha latte, this or that, and I just want a black coffee. Well, I just want to run in, grab a couple of pints, and go. So over here, back at this area, they have just a freestanding cabinet that's filled with pints of ice cream and a sign that says what the flavors are. And I can run in, there's just a cash register right there, and the person who's serving the banana splits, excuse me for 1 second, he says to the person they're serving, runs over here, usually credit card, swipes your card. Would you like a receipt? No. Would you like a bag? No. I'm just going to run. And I grab my 2 pints and I leave. Well, I've interrupted that sale over there, but everybody in line over there is going, whoa, look at that. I can run in here at 5 o'clock and just grab a pint real fast and get out. I don't have to stand in that long line waiting. And they're going to remember that because they're going to do it someday too. So the pint sale business is going through the roof. Last video that we talked about this awful product, Halo, which is just nothing. It's a terrible tasting ice cream. But they're promoting it in pints and they're saying, oh, you can eat the whole thing. Well, I predict Halo will go away because it's just not a great product. But ice cream parlors that are also offering pint containers, everyone who reports back to me says the business is just great. So we've got two major changes going on in the frozen dessert business from my standpoint. I've got 37,000 customers in 171 countries, and a lot of it here in the United States is what I hear is pint sales and dairy free. That's pretty exciting to have two major things going on in the industry. And I don't think either one of them are fads. I think they're trends. Yes?
Just what you said about the kind of higher quality ice creams, isn't that one of the reasons not to mix your product? Because I get the fact from an economic, from a business standpoint, like Daimler Chrysler, Mercedes-Benz and Chrysler, they don't mix the products. They don't have ice cream and Italian ices. They don't have Mercedes and Chryslers together. There's a reason for that. There's a strategy for that. There's a perceived perception, as Jeff had said, what you can charge for ice cream over what you can charge in Italian ice. So if you have them both and you come in, people are going to tend to drift more towards the lower costing product, so your sales on your ice cream are going to drop. You know, I would favor having two separate shops, having a factory where you're making both products, but you're not intermingling on the same lot. You have separate places where you do that. The car business, that's how they do it.
Okay, so you're talking about, you're disagreeing that I want to put ice cream and ices in the same store. I think my basic premise there is nobody walks into that frozen dessert business with a value judgment of how much they're going to spend today. I mean, the sky's the limit. They will buy what they want to get. It's not that the ice costs less. If I was in Jeff's position, I would agree with him, and I'd charge the same for an Italian ice as I would for the ice cream, and just make it the best darn Italian ice that you could have.
They're still not going to buy it, and they're not going to like it when they buy it.
What about the sherbet?
Same thing.
You don't do sherbet either.
No.
Yet that product was fabulous.
Of course it was fabulous, but I'll tell you what, give everybody a bowl of sherbet, give everybody a bowl right next to it with full ice cream, the sherbet's in the trash.
I'll say they'll take both.
Oh no, the sherbet's in the garbage.
In fact...
and I also disagree with you on the pint sales.
You know what? There is a company that we helped put in a business called Rita's that is selling something, it's a made-up name called a gelati. And
ices with the ice cream.
It's a made-up name. When I was growing up, it was called a parfait. And that's a parfait glass. And we would go to Schraff's in New Rochelle, an old-time company, H.G. Shattuck, and they would put some of that orange sherbet in the bottom, and then some old-fashioned hard ice cream, and then orange sherbet, and old-fashioned hard ice cream, vanilla. And that was a beautiful presentation called a parfait, and you could get anything you wanted for it. You could charge $7 for that today. And it's just very attractive, very unique, and very different. So I disagree that you can't mix the products. I think that's just
no, you're not mixing the product.
No,
he's saying
I can't sell them in the same building.
You can't. You can't. That's not what that is. What this is a separate product that you're not going to separate the two. This is a separate product.
Yeah. Well,
so they're going to buy a parfait, but they're not going to buy ices in an ice cream store.
My sales, because I sell a lot of machines, more than anyone in the world, my sales show that people are doing ices and ices together and doing phenomenally well, and no one, except you, has ever said, I think they're going to pick one over the other because of the price.
Got to be somebody who's right.
Well, I'll bet my sales on it.
Not going to work. Not going to work.
Yes?
You had mentioned Rita's just now, and that's kind of what I'm leaning towards, is like a Rita's Jeremiah's type of concept. To be able to make anything creamy and smooth and iced like the Jeremiah's, like your machine.
I taught Jeremiah. I taught him how to make his product. What makes Jeremiah's is the better of the two products.
I agree.
It's interesting. Italian ices are just so simple. And I can do it with a roadmap. If you're up in New York, my formula for lemon ice on a bigger machine is going to be 7 pounds of sugar, 14 quarts of water, 2 quarts of fresh squeezed lemon juice, and the zest from 6 lemons. Best Italian ice you've ever had. You go down the Jersey Turnpike to Philadelphia, and the name changes from Italian ice to Italian water ice. That's what Rita sells, and that's what Jeremiah sells, though he calls it Italian ice. And the only difference in that formula is we go from 7 pounds of sugar up to 8 pounds of sugar. The extra pound doesn't necessarily make it sweeter. It's not enough in a course of 6 gallons. It does make it smoother. And then I can go back to New York. I could go down to Bay 8th Street in Brooklyn where everybody speaks Italian, and I'm going to have a very coarse Italian ice, crunchy even. And that's called granita or granite. And that is not 8 pounds Philadelphia. It's not 7 pounds New York City. It's 6 pounds in that one street in Brooklyn. So the sugar, one simple thing controls the texture of the product. Not the machine, not the flavors, not the formula. It's just so easy. It's great. Yes?
My question is about freezing. What temperature should it be when it comes out of the back freezer? What temperature should the freezer be that it goes into?
What temperature should it be when it comes out of the freezer?
For what product?
Ice cream.
Okay.
Oh, well, it depends on what you're going to do with it next. I'll let Jeff take this one because he uses it right away.
So, Jeff, I have 2 dipping cabinets, and I have a freezer similar to that, and I've heard hardening cabinets and all that, and I don't have an unlimited budget, so I'm trying to figure out if I need more freezers or what I need.
The reason you don't have an unlimited budget is because you wasted a lot of money on hardening cabinets and dipping cabinets.
I don't have any hardening cabinets, and I have 2 used dipping cabinets.
Okay. Well, what temperature? I keep my ice cream in the back in inventory at, well, -5 or so, -3, -5. Yeah, -3, -5. And then when we bring it up to the front, it's the same temperature because it's regulated by the fact that the freezer opens and closes hopefully 200 times a night. And that's what keeps the ice cream at a good serving temperature. Probably brings it up to what, 5, 6, 7 degrees?
Yeah. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Yeah, so it depends on how you're going to sell it. We're not going to get into the hardening cabinet argument again, but the only reason for a hardening cabinet is inventory. If you need more inventory, let's drop the word hardening cabinet and say a walk-in freezer. The only reason I need a walk-in freezer is I need 50 times more ice cream than I did when I first opened.
Okay.
That's the only reason you start with a chest freezer. Look at this. I'm agreeing with Jeff. You start with a chest freezer, and then you buy a second one, and then you look at your business and see how it's growing, and you buy appropriately. If you were opening up a moving company, you wouldn't start with a tractor trailer. You'd start with a Dodge Caravan and go from there.
So I'm okay with something like that?
You're fine. You're fine with a Sears chest freezer.
Okay.
Only one little caution. Sears has them. Home Depot has them. Make sure they're rated commercial. There's no difference between commercial and homemade until the store burns down. And then the insurance company says, well, you weren't in, there's a clause in your insurance policy that said you couldn't have any homemade items, mechanical items in your store. I had that happen in Wisconsin. I was shocked.
Now, do the Italian ices have to be frozen and served at different temperatures than ice cream?
Depends on how you're serving it.
Yes, always a different temperature than ice cream.
It's warmer. My ices with no chemicals whatsoever, just sugar, water, and flavor. I scoop at 16 degrees. But I could pull them out of the batch freezer and start serving right away if I had to.
Okay.
It's not practical, but I could.
So I really have to have 2 different dipping cabinets if I want ice cream and Italian ice.
Again, depends on the volume of the store. If you made it all at 5 o'clock tonight and you're going to run out by 9, probably not.
Just a question. Why do you feel the need to have both? What was your answer? What would your answer be?
Italian ice and ice cream?
Yeah.
I don't feel strongly about it. I'm just going by what Steve says it sells, because that's what I care about. What sells? That's all I care about.
That's all you care about?
Yep.
So you would bring in a line of women's shoes also. I'm not being facetious.
No, you are being facetious.
Well, okay. But my point is, you want what sells.
Right.
Well, either one of them sells.
Right.
My point is that both won't sell.
And my longer track record than his shows, and much more dense depth, shows that they do both sell. Yes?
So I think the products that we've eaten so far that we saw you guys making is Italian cream ice, right? Which had you added a quart of mix when Jeff did his, and when you did, you added like a substitute to, dairy. the Italian ice, which should have like no cream at
No.
all.
That's
Just
right.
The flavor, water, and
Sugar, water, and flavor.
that. I feel like someone who's like, could you call it like a dairy-free product?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, technically.
It is a technically dairy-free product. Dairy-free frozen dessert. You're not going to call it dairy-free ice cream.
And I'm just high level thinking is like, if you put Italian cream ice with ice cream, it will compete and might like not work. But if you put like just Italian ice, which is like a sorbet, like like no cream at all, and you put it next to ice cream, somebody who does not want dairy and want like
Now, there's an intelligent observation. You could, I get people asking me for dairy-free in my store, and I don't have dairy-free. But if I had one small, like your little
little dipping cabinet there,
of Italian ices, that's dairy-free. But I choose not to do that.
Do you plan on making any today?
I'm sorry?
Do you plan on making any today? Just Italian ice?
No.
Is that on the agenda now?
No, because we're showing you all the techniques. The only difference is to leave out the cream. You've seen in 2 different batches, 3 now, how to do it.
You want to make Italian ices?
No.
I could do it.
No, I keep on your schedule.
Okay.
Because your stuff's so good.
I think the analogy would be to, so like there's this burger place, BurgerFi. So they have all burgers, and then they might have like one chicken sandwich. And I think the same thing, like if you want to decide to do ice cream, you can maximize your ice cream and then have a little chest for your
Chick-fil-A has no burgers.
And so I just think that, and the only reason for that is because I do agree that dairy-free is a very, very big thing. It's very big.
Subway has no hamburgers.
One other thing that we're leaving out of the mix is Italian ices are seasonal. They're May 1st to Columbus Day. You can't sell it. You can't sell it in the winter. So yeah, it's going to go away in January and February. There'll be no sales.
Yeah.
It could be 85 degrees down here in Florida in January, and the only person who's going to buy it is a New Yorker in shorts, and it's 45 degrees out.
There you go.
And
that's a great point.
that's a
the great point.
It's a seasonal product.
Well,
and
even-
what we
yeah.
do with what we do with the dipping cabinet in the wintertime, we sell novelties. We make ice cream cakes or pies. I was going to make a pie today. I forgot.
I think,
I'll make a pie.
if you
Okay,
look at
I got
what
it.
works, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to look at what are people doing that's working? What are other businesses doing? And also, what do you want to do? Do you have a personal preference? If you don't have a personal preference, I think it makes sense, like Steve is saying, look at what people are doing, look at what your customers are doing. When we look at what our customers are doing, a lot of them will have a heavier rotation of Italian ices compared to ice cream in the summer. And in the winter, they'll sub out more of the Italian ices with dairy-free ice creams or dairy-free gelatos, however they want to market it, using our mix. So it's a creamier option for those colder months. But they never completely eliminate either of those options, or all 3 of them rather. And that seems to be pretty common across how a lot of shops work.
Well, I'm not going to, back to my argument, I'm not going to say you're not going to sell both products. You are. What I'm saying is you're not going to maximize your higher costing product, which is your ice cream. Because, I've lived a long life. I've done a lot of things. I've got several businesses. Price does matter. And if someone comes in and you've got $6, whatever,
Right.
pint ice cream.
Or
is
$3.
and then $3-4, you're going to sell both. There's going to be people coming, I want ice cream. But to Steve, your people are doing it. What you really need to do is tell them stop doing it, break them out, do it for a year, and then come back and tell me, were you more successful? Because with that lesser price product, you're not going to sell as much ice cream as you could. You're better off having 2 separate places.
Because when somebody walks in the door, they're going to buy something.
Yes.
So why not sell them the expensive something?
yeah.
If given a choice, of course they're going to buy the lesser price.
Yeah, just like if you go to buy a Mercedes and they say, hey, you can buy that Chrysler
Right,
there for,
right.
we make both.
Made in the
Okay,
same
but-
factory.
Yeah,
Just buy the Chrysler, it's cheaper.
You keep coming back to the same analogy. I drive a Lexus. And so Lexus of Wesley Chapel just opened up a Lexus dealership where I'm now going. Right across the street, the same man who owns Lexus of Wesley Chapel owns Toyota.
Across the street?
No, same parking lot. It's all in a complex. And then in the third one, I think there's Scion or some other brand like that. People like a choice.
Different showrooms. Right, different
Yeah, but
showrooms.
same campus. No, but the whole idea was to get you to that campus as opposed to one in Tampa or one in Clearwater.
If I might use myself, my wife she's everything. I'm a vegan. And if we want to go into a store to get some ice cream or some frozen dessert, I don't want to go to two different places for me to get what I want and she go to get what she wants. I'd like to have it in the same place. So, I mean, you know, how
You're opening up Italian ices. Where?
Newport Rich area.
Oh, perfect. You're year round. Yeah. There's somebody, Newport, oh, that's on the West Coast, right?
Yeah, it's just over here.
So he's year-round, because I'm near him, so could I sell Italian ice in January?
In this part of the country? Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And Miami.
Okay.
Anything south of North Carolina, you're saying.
What do you say we break for lunch? We have a great lunch for you,
Okay.
and then we're going to make some more products. And one more question, yes?
But the capacity for your 350, you can only go 7 quarts.
That's all.
That's all you know.
Yeah, if you want a bigger machine, go to the next one up. It does 12 quarts, and after that, 24, and then the world's largest, 44.
Jeff, you say you're open 4 hours a day, I think?
4 hours a night. Right?
How much time do you spend making your ice cream?
Well, I've gotten real good at it. I used to spend 3 days a week making ice cream. Now I can do it in 1 day. I can make 150 gallons in 1 day. As a matter of fact, I emailed Steve last week. I have a 24-quart Emery, and I was 2/3 the way through my day of making ice cream, and I had to stop and email Steve and thank him for enabling me to make 120 gallons of ice cream like that, without even worrying about the machine, not giving it a second thought. I have other things to think about, and the I'm not look, he's a friend of mine. He really makes a great machine, but you all know that. That's why you're here. The machine is amazing, and it cut my production time actually 50%. That's why right now, and I'm in the heart of season now. This is high season down in Florida, and I'm making ice cream 1 day a week. I can pump out 120 gallons. In slow time, I'll make ice cream 2 or 3 days a week because I'm only going to come in for an hour or two and make ice cream.
I'll tell you a quick story and then we'll break. There's a famous store in San Francisco, I think it's called Fenton's in Oakland. And I was speaking to the owner of Fenton's, and he's younger than me, but he's not a teenager. And he was telling me when he was a teenager, when he was 17 or 18, he went to work for the original Fenton's making ice cream. And they paid him on a per hour basis to make ice cream. And he said, guys, you're killing me here. I need a bigger Emery Thompson. You got to get me. I can run 2 machines. Buy me another Emery Thompson. So they bought him a second Emery Thompson. Now he's making ice cream, and half the time his paycheck got cut in half because he's being paid by the hour. Yeah. He got back at him. He bought the company.
Yeah, I lay out my production, my production cards with all the flavors I need to make, because the girls write up on the board what needs to be, how much we have left. And I take my 6, 7 flavors and I arrange the production cards in order so that I can maximize my efficiency and not go from rum raisin to vanilla. That's that's not productive. But if I do them in a good order, then it's right away. Boom, boom, boom. And while I'm working on one, I've got the next one going, and the next one after that. So I don't stop. I blast the music, I lock the door, and I just go for it. And it's a pleasure. It's a fun day.
Well, enough of all this pleasure.
Okay, let's eat lunch. Okay. Okay. We have some new guests in the room. Oh, that's all right. We'll just edit you out. Don't worry about it. We have a couple of new guests. Why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Salim Mitta. I'm from Swanson's and Gore.
My name is Rehan. I'm working on 20 years for Swanson's.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And there's a lot of knowledge there. You said he's been in the ice cream business 20 some odd years, right? Okay. So who am I? We always get asked about making, you know, the pretty swirls in the ice cream, the variegates, you know, that's the term for it. So I thought we'd make something a little odd. I thought we'd do peanut butter and jelly ice cream. Who cares, really? Which will be peanut butter ice cream with jelly swirls through it. What enthusiasm, my God. They're going crazy. Can't see it on the video, but they are absolutely going nuts here about it. So, peanut butter ice cream. I got Jif extra crunchy. That'll work. And I put it in a tub of warm water so it'll soften up a little bit. And let's see what we got. Oh, yeah. In my machine, it's a 24-quart machine, so I'll break the recipe down in half. My machine is 10 quarts of mix, so in here, let's see how smart you all are. What will it be? 5. Genius. 5 quarts of mix. This have 5? Yes. We'll use this one. So 5 quarts. 2, 4, 5.
Does your machine have the infinite override on it?
Well, alas, no. Suffice it to say, no. Thanks, Crystal. Okay, we'll add 5 quarts of mix in. I see you're all writing this formula down. Don't worry about it. We're working under adverse conditions here, no pliable containers. All right. And then we'll add pound and a half. How much we got in here? We got 3 pounds. 3 pounds in this little jar? Well, all right. So we'll add that. What else are we going to add? I always put a little chocolate with my peanut butter. Ooh. So I have some Ghirardelli chocolate powder here, which is really good stuff. And no. Not unless your grocery store is in Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. But it's easily available online. Let's see, 10 tablespoons, so we'll add 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's about it. Except for the peanut butter. So the peanut butter, can it work here? Because these machines are so efficient, I can just add this right into that, the peanut butter. And it'll mix it for me. When I first opened, I bought a KitchenAid. Oh, beautiful KitchenAid. You know the kind, like this where, oh, $500 for the nice green one. The colored one, the professional, the commercial one. Beautiful. I gave it away about a year later because you don't need it. All right, so let's turn it on. I always add the mix, turn it on, then add your stuff. Let the machine do the mixing for you. Does anybody not like peanut butter? Anybody have a nut allergy? Good. A spatula would be good here. How about if we do this? Isn't this fun? What?
Is this recipe in your book?
Yes. That's about enough. About enough of that. All right. Now, while that's cooking, we didn't turn on the refrigeration yet because we have a little work to do to prepare the variegate. So, what are we going to prepare the variegate in? Well, why don't we prepare it right in here? For the variegate, I got some Welch's grape jelly because traditionally peanut butter, jelly, you can use preserves, jams, glop, the whatever they make. So to make the variegate, we want to put all this stuff. What do you think? How about the handle? So the goal of this is is, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody really cares. We want this the consistency of gravy. And you'll see why, but the consistency of this is very important if you're going to get nice stripes out of it. So we'll whisk away what conditions we have to work under here. There was a whisk hanging around. That's not bad. Okay, now we can put it on. This is this is in my life, I never thought I'd be standing in front of a room full of people doing this. That's what we'll have to variegate with to make the swirls. It'll all come together. It'll be very pretty. There should be lots of oohs and ahs when we get done. There will be lots of oohs and ahs. And since I don't have to pay for this stuff, let's add some more. How big of a jar is this? Doesn't matter. You just need enough. We probably have enough now, but why not? Now, if we wanted to thicken this up a little for the variegate, what do you think we could do?
Add some mix.
No, mix would thin it down. What? Starch. Did you say starch? Like throw a potato in it? No. No. What I think we should do, if we wanted to thicken it, is use a little peanut butter so that we're incorporating that flavor into the swirl as well. But that's just me. So we'll see if luckily there's a little left. Okay, let's see if this will work at all. Ah. Ooh. It's working. Okay, now we have a great consistency with a lot of jelly flavor, a little peanut butter flavor. You want to see it? Huh? Okay.
No, I was going through your pasta, but I'm using my hand to go through your pasta.
Here we go. Mom, I'm sorry. All right. Now, as we talked about this in the class yesterday, normally you pull the ice cream at a certain consistency, but when you're doing a variegate, you want it a little more firm, because what you don't want to happen is when you mix the variegate into the ice cream, you don't want the variegate to melt into the ice cream. If the ice cream is too loose, that's what will happen. So, whereas I might pull it at, I don't know, whatever time it is, I'll let it go another minute and a half or so. You'll see it. So it'll be firm, so that when you fold, you get a nice mix. And we're going to put it into this. This would be a good time to taste it. See if you have to do anything. Whew. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, any questions about what we're doing here? No? No question? No? Now, obviously, you don't need grape jelly to do this. What else could we use? Oh, come on. Of course. You could use strawberry jam. You could use raspberry jelly. You could use anything you want. Peanut butter and jelly. What? You could use chocolate fudge. You could make it a fudge swirl in the peanut butter. Peanut butter and chocolate, peanut butter and fudge goes great.
I have what I hope is a stupid question. You have a 24-quart machine. So when you're trying new things, you don't always make 24 quarts at a time, do you?
No. What you do, when I make the next thing, I'm going to show you how to make it on the counter in a small quantity to perfection so that you can just use a little math and know that it's going to work. That's the next thing. So,
what is the overrun that you use?
What?
What is the overrun that you use? When you put
What?
What
What is the overrun?
I don't know. I don't know. Anything else? I don't know. I don't know. Any other questions? You mean like percentage of overrun? I have no idea. All I know.
It says ice cream and you're done.
That's it. I'm good to go. And when it's ready, it's ready. And then you know what I do on Mondays? I make a big deposit. So whatever it is, it is. Oh, it's getting there. It's definitely getting there. You watch, Kurt. You'll be signing up for my class like that. Normally I'd pull it about now, but because we're variegating it, what do you call it? What do you call when you variegate? Swirling, when you swirl, right? Okay, we're good. Huh? Call it what? Ribboning. Make a ribbon of right. That's good. You could probably teach me a lot of stuff. But would I listen? No.
You're the boss.
Who said that? You're right, I'm the boss. I'm the boss of my own world. Okay, we're almost ready, and then we'll do a variegate. Almost. See, I'm impatient, as if you didn't know it. And I just want to get it going. But I learned that if I took it out now and I made the swirl, it wouldn't be a beautiful swirl. It would be in there because you're putting it in, but it wouldn't be a beautiful swirl. I want oohs and ahs here. That's why I have this nice clear container sitting here, so you can see the beautiful variegate we're going to have. So what do we use? 1 jar of peanut butter, 2 jars of jelly, right? And we'll probably have jelly left over. Why didn't you come early this morning? Really? Must have been some traffic. You're 3.5 hours away. Okay. Remember I told you the knife? When it cuts like a knife, boom, pretty close. And now, even though I pull, I just want it to be a little more, a little firmer. That's so silly.
Hey, back.
We're making peanut butter and jelly ice cream.
Yum.
We've made peanut butter ice cream that's almost ready to pull, and we've got the variegate ready here to make swirls.
Beautiful.
We have 2 new guests from down in Coral Gables who just joined us.
You scared me. Oh, good. Welcome.
And they said to me that you'll stay afterwards and go through the whole class again from what they missed.
Yes, on videotape. Paula says your best and says, where's the ice cream?
Oh, that's right. Why didn't you bring her any?
I didn't think of it. I was too busy bringing her a computer.
She expected it, didn't she?
She did. She said, don't bring yours, Steve. Bring Jeff's.
Okay, I think my patience is at the maximum. See, you always want it firmer when you're variegating it, so that you don't want it to dissolve. You want crisp ribbons.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Crisp ribbons. That was a Johnny Mathis hit, wasn't it?
I thought it was, yes. Followed by tiny bubbles.
And scarlet ribbons. Okay, I can wait no longer. Down we go. And here we go.
Nice.
Nice. Beige.
Did y'all get enough to eat for lunch?
Lunch was great.
Oh, good.
Lunch was great today, in spite of Paula not being here. Okay, so now we'll variegate. We'll variegate. So what we've got is our firm peanut butter ice cream. In a pliable container, that's very important. You can't do this if the container's not pliable. You'll see why. So we're going to take the variegate and just put some on top. You could hear a pin drop at this point.
Yeah, you could. Let me just add this.
And then we'll give it a couple of good folds, just a few folds, that's all. We'll fold it, not yet, not yet, no, not yet, not yet. A couple of folds. And then, because we have a pliable container, And normally in my store, I would have 6 of these lined up or 7 of these lined up, and I would take the big one and squeeze it, and
beautiful, huh? Ah, you've got them trained, don't you? Wow. Is this because most of them came from your class?
and you can see we have a nice mix of peanut butter and jelly. Not bad.
Very nice.
So you can try it. It's ready.
You see, they don't jump up as fast after lunch.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Oh, no, more ice cream.
Let's see.
Okay, let's see, he says. Let's see, he says. Hang on, and we'll see. We need implements. Okay, let's see.
Oh,
Let's
sure.
get some.
Yeah.
It's a good assembly line. Yeah, it is. Thank you. Much faster.
Do you have a spot with not much jelly?
Yes. That's not it.
That's not it.
Here it is.
Ooh, beautiful. Thank you very much.
On cheesecake, would you do the same thing?
Same thing.
Okay.
Same thing. Same thing on cheesecake.
Thank you, sir. And you have a great assistant, you know that?
Tell me about it.
The VP of operations there.
Absolutely.
Quick.
Not an assistant, a partner.
A partner, yes.
Get rid of that wife of his, and I got a partner.
Thank you. Smells like peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, yeah. A clean mode on other machines is just not turning on the refrigeration.
Okay, so
that's all we're doing. There's no reason to throw it.
I just figured because we already had presets for the other modes.
That's it?
So I have one question.
No, I'm afraid you have more than one.
Just for profit.
Yeah.
What is the butter fat on this?
10.
10%?
Yeah.
Very creamy.
Yes, very creamy.
So,
Appreciate it, brother. Thank
What?
you very much.
10%.
Maybe one more little scoop in there.
it has to be 10% to be called ice
That's
cream,
pretty
right?
dang good.
What?
Is the law changed now? I don't know.
What are you saying?
So it has to be 10% to be called ice cream?
10, yeah. Yeah. Come on, get it out. Get it out of there.
Well,
Out of there, out of there. There we
shaking.
go. There we go.
Thanks.
Did you come in the Lexus wagon?
Yeah.
When you leave, don't take my car by accident. We have the identical car. I'm parked right next to you. It was very funny to see one.
Are you going to be here tomorrow?
I don't know.
How much do these bags of mix cost? How much do the bags of mix cost?
It's about $10 a gallon.
About $25 a bag.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That whole bag's about $22 to $25.
Depending on the milk fat and everything like that?
No, depending on where you buy it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to fix for a while. This other stuff was my thing. That's what I want to make. But something interesting. You don't
Yeah,
use
it really doesn't matter.
You do not use dipping
Yeah. It doesn't make any difference. He pulls, usually I pull more firm than he does. But it's personal taste. That's all it is.
I had a guy come into my store.
Yeah.
Tall,
Where's your store?
Fruitland Park. Listen. Tall Hispanic guy. Coconut ice cream. He says, I'll have the coconut. Tall, big guy, Hispanic guy.
No. In fact,
he
it's a
does this. He went just
disadvantage
like
because
this.
Jeff gets his ice cream out of the machine faster.
18. 18. And I said, yeah. But it's always been 10. I use 10.
How does it taste when it's hard? Same consistency, you think?
What?
It's the same consistency when it becomes hard?
Oh, yeah. All of my ice cream is very smooth and creamy.
I'll come to your store. Where is it? Get that this one.
This one, 2,
Mystica.
1, 7. I'm taking it.
It's an hour from here.
4 quarts of
Very
water.
good.
Okay.
That's good.
There's 3 that I'm aware of in Houston.
Very smooth. Yeah, he was surprised it was 10%.
I can't today, but if you email me, I'll send them to you.
Very good.
We were just talking about your Snicker bar. It's really good too.
Snickers good.
Oh, yeah.
We made Salim.
300.
We made Snickers yesterday.
324 videos.
Same thing, right?
On how to make ice cream. We don't train you. This is what we do.
I mean, but all the...
You didn't tell me your name.
Of course.
Jeff.
Yeah, there's a full printed manual.
When I was younger, in Spanish class, everybody had a Spanish name.
I'm going to show that because I didn't make that clear.
And I didn't know till years later. Well, I didn't know years later it means the chief.
I'm sorry?
El Jefe.
I started doing this in
No, there's no installation other than what your licensed electrician has to do. We're in Florida. Where are you located? Yeah, we're not. We would be licensed in
I just have
Hernando,
one
but not
store,
Tampa.
and I'm
We need a
only
licensed
open
electrician to run
4
an
hours
electric
a
line.
night, from 6 to 10.
Yeah, the laws are very clear on that.
Well, we see 200 customers a night.
Just a 220 line?
That's all.
So we're doing all right.
But we'll tell you in advance. We'll talk to your electrician and tell him what we want. And we supply the male and female.
Did you taste this?
No.
I think you should.
Is it great?
I think you should.
Where do you get the mix?
The mix? Dairy mix in Clearwater.
It depends on your location.
Yeah. Well, you get yours from Ice Cream
No,
Club.
we are not allowed to make it.
What? You don't make it? Oh. Well, if you do, you would get it from Ice Cream Club in Boynton Beach. All right.
Afterwards, I'll get your name. I'll get your particulars and I'll come and see your store tomorrow.
Okay. Tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
here for 2 days.
But only at night.
At night, sir.
Come tonight.
I'll come tonight.
Come tonight. The peanut butter and jelly ice cream, pretty good.
What made that so creamy is just really, really creamy.
These hands. These hands. You know, that's a great question. I believe that you can, look, I teach a class, and yesterday we had 15 in the class. And I believe, and I told them this, I said, you're going to learn from me how to make ice cream. Your ice cream will be different than mine. Even with my books, my method, how we do it, they even made ice cream right in my machine according to my directions. Theirs will be different. It's different based on when you pull it. Steve and I pull the ice cream at different times. He pulls it later, I pull it sooner. When we put in the mix, I poured 5 quarts in. It wasn't really 5, it was a hair more. I added peanut butter. Did I add all of the jar? No. All these little things change your ice cream. Even with a recipe, my book has 20 some odd recipes in it. You're all going to follow each of those recipes. All your ice creams will be different. They'll all be great, but they'll all be different. I like my ice cream sweet, and I like my ice cream creamy. Other people, she doesn't like it that sweet. She wants her ice cream less sweet. Now, of course, your customer is really going to tell you what to do, but ultimately, you're the judge in each of your own establishments of what's good. That's a very subjective thing. What's good? Forget the whole area of what flavors to make. That's a whole other category. But what's good? You see that I tasted it during the process, during the production. I kept tasting it because if I thought it needed more peanut butter, throw it in. If I thought it needed less peanut butter, what could I do? Added more mix, of course. If I thought the swirl wasn't sweet enough, add some sugar to it when you mix it up. I thought it wasn't dense enough, so I added some peanut butter to it. If we had real implements here, I would have whisked it very smooth, but we don't, so I made do. And that's why it didn't hold up, because it was jellified or whatever. But given a nice whisk and make it real smooth, then it'll work in the firm ice cream. So everything is, it's all judgmental. Do you like your ice cream sweet? Do you like your ice cream sweet? No, I didn't think so. So you two with the same, yeah, you two are going to make different ice creams. Just don't lose sight of the fact that if your ice cream is sweet and, man, this was great, how come nobody's coming back for it? I've had this same tub in here for a week. What's going on? Well, maybe your customers don't like it that sweet. You too. Now, you may like it not sweet. Customers won't like that. So you're going to have to make something that isn't you, because you want to make money. So
it was really good. It was just super sweet. Like I could just eat a small amount.
This was super sweet? Oh, I could make this sweeter and I'd be all right with it. Oh, yeah. I could run some fudge through it like Salim said. I could run fudge and swirl through this and it would be good. Yeah, because I grew up a fat kid. I'll tell you how I grew up. My parents, you think you like ice cream. You don't, nothing. My parents used to buy the half-gallon Breyers, and they would keep it in the freezer. I would get up in the middle of the night, go to the freezer, take the half-gallon out, open the bottom, and I would eat from the bottom so they couldn't see it. And then I would close it up. This is a true story. And I would close it up and put it back. This way, when they opened it up the next day, obviously Jeff didn't get to it. I would eat from the bottom. When I used to go to the store in my driving years, I would buy 2 because I would eat 1 on the way home. To me, a serving was always a half-gallon and a soup spoon. So I like ice cream.
I'll see your story and raise you one. I was 5'5" in every direction. I was a fat kid. And my addiction was Hershey bars. They made dollar Hershey bars. They were about this big. And my father every year at Christmas would give me a silver dollar in my stocking from, say, 1945 or 1928. And I had all these silver dollars. And I looked at them and they said, they're worth $1. And they're just sitting around doing nothing. So I would
buy Hershey bars with them.
I would go down to the local store and buy a Hershey bar for $1 with a silver dollar. Today it's probably worth about, because of the age of it, it was probably worth
now, you know, things
3,000.
haven't changed that much. In our store, just the other day, we got 2 $5 bills, the old ones. You know, the old $5 bills, and 2 silver certificate singles.
Silver certificates?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because people, they did the same thing. You know, their parents have it or whatever. My ice cream is $6. So for 2 ice creams, we got 2 1953 $5 bills and 2 silver certificate ones.
Nice. You know, we mentioned before about, you know, making Italian ice today, just a pure Italian ice, and I didn't realize it is on my schedule, but I'm not sure you'd call it a pure Italian ice. It's chocolate fudge brownie Italian ice. That's basically putting the whole kitchen sink in, but it's sugar, water, and flavor. So that's what we're going to make, and I'll pass this out. I took the liberty while Jeff was talking of going ahead and mixing the sugar and the water. I use just pure cane sugar, very simple stuff, tap water, and surprisingly sugar water will dissolve very easily in normal tap water temperature, whatever that tap water temperature is. Here in Florida it's pretty warm, but it'll dissolve in 60 seconds or less. And in this recipe I'm using 4 quarts of water and 1.5 pounds of sugar. So when I pour it in, even if I end up with just a little stream of sugar left, it isn't going to make any difference at all because it's not that critical. Before I go any further, one thing that's important, though, that people ask about is, what about the water? Do I have to purify the water? And the answer is yes and no. Is it time for the peanut butter? It's gone. Oh, no, it's right here. Here you go. Gee, Crystal, I didn't know you were so hungry. You want to just take it away. Thank you. When you call, this is Crystal, and when you call, you'll probably speak to her first, and she'll get you through to anybody you need. Do you purify the water? It's a good question. We're in Brooksville, Florida, which you've seen has got cows and turkeys and snakes and possums, and that's about it. There's no tourism here. You're Newport Richey? Okay, so you have a little bit more varied amount of people, but still not what you would call a huge tourist area. So if I'm making this Italian ice for Brooksville, I don't need to do anything to the water. The water is terrible here. I come down from New York where the water's wonderful. We start up at the Kensico Dam, and we've got this big chicken wire which separates the water from the dead bodies and the tires. And that's part of the purification system. And then we work our way down. But here it's a high mineral content because Florida is practically an island. And I found it quite surprising how much I didn't like the water. But if you grew up in here in Brooksville all your life, this is the only water you've ever known. And there's no tourists coming to Brooksville. So my clientele thinks this water is just fine. So there's no reason to purify it because it's what they're used to. Now you go down to Miami and it's a bunch of us New Yorkers coming down on vacation who are used to New York style water, which isn't as high in mineral content by any means as this. So if I was setting up business in South Florida, I would probably purify the water. But for here, you don't need to. So, do you need to purify the water? Well, tell me who your clientele is. If it's tourists, yeah, I want to make it as neutral as I can. If it's locals, I don't have to do it. So we got 4 quarts of water, 1.5 pounds of sugar. I've got fresh baked brownies right here. Fresh baked.
By whom?
Paula.
Okay.
With my help. I said, go Paula. A can of Hershey's Fudge and an ounce of vanilla. This is pretty close to the Mississippi mud pie except for the brownies and the fact that we're doing it in just sugar and water. And no bourbon. So let me pour this in. I found that if you rest the container on the lid, and this is true of everything, even my coffee maker. If I rest the container on the coffee maker, it spills all over the place. But if you raise it up a little bit, you don't have a problem. There you go. Not a drop. And I only have one eye, so that's pretty good. Sugar and water. Going to turn this on. Now, someone brought up to me during the break, my error, I didn't explain to you the infinite overrun control. This is something I invented now, it's 14 years ago, where we can change the speed of the drop products. The difference between homemade ice cream and super premium is homemade is what we call 100% overrun or maximum legal air. Super premium is less air. Gelato is even less air than that, and custard, frozen custard, is the least amount of air. So it's just the amount of air that we're adjusting. Italian ices, you're going to take on some air, but if you've ever been up north and you go to a lake that's frozen, ice expands, or even if you just have an ice cube tray. You know, most people don't know what an ice cube tray is anymore if they're under 30. But this group looks like this. Yeah, Chris, this group otherwise knows what an ice cube tray is. You fill an ice cube tray with water up to the top, put it in the freezer, and all of a sudden all your ice cubes are crowned over because water expands when it's frozen. So if you had a boat up in Lake Michigan and Lake Michigan froze over, it'll just crush your boat because the water expands the ice around it. So we're going to get some expansion. We're going to get some volume increase. If I was running a 5-gallon machine, I'd put in about 4.5 gallons of liquid and get 5 back. Here I'm going to put in about 4 3/4 quarts of product and get back, 5 3/4 and get back about 6. I can adjust that a little bit, but not by much, not like ice cream products. So this thing has got homemade, super premium Italian ice, gelato, frozen yogurt, cream ice, frozen custard, sorbet, sorbetto, sherbet, and frozen lemonade. And so all you have to do is pick the product that you want, and it'll go to the speed that you want. If you're an executive chef and you already know absolutely everything, you can pick a speed, like say frozen custard, and hit start. It's going to be very slow running. And then you could adjust it up and down manually. You could go higher by tapping it. You could go a little lower. And that's handy because say if I'm making gelato at 140 RPM, when the product's finished, I want to get it out of the machine as fast as I can. So I tap it up all the way to full speed just to help discharge it. Now, it doesn't sound like much of an invention. I have a motor that's got a variable speed. What's unique about it is if this was your dining room and these were your overhead lights and it's 100 watts and you're having a romantic dinner with your spouse and you want to dim them down to 25 watts, you turn down the dimmer and the lights get lower. What you're doing at that point is you're taking a 100-watt bulb and you're stealing the power from it. You're delivering it down to 25 watts. It's lost 3/4 of its power. If we did that on a machine, that we start at 100 watts of power and then dim it down to 25 watts, it won't have enough strength to pull through this liquid, which is then turning into a semi-solid. With my invention, no matter what speed I run this machine at, the pulling power, or what they call in cars the torque is going to be the same at a very low speed or a medium speed or a high speed. So it's the only machine on the market that has this. It's been that way for 14 years and no one has copied me yet. So we'll be just hitting Italian ice on that and letting it go. So I've got the sugar and water in there, and let me just go here to my schedule and hit Italian ice and start. That gets it spinning. Now I want it to get cold. Turn on the refrigeration. Now we're freezing. So now I'm going to add more products in here. I'm going to add the brownies. And this is another thing you can't do with any other machine is put whole products into the machine because the openings are too small. And the manufacturer in the warranty will say, if you try to put anything in here, we're going to void your warranty. So we just stuff them all down. There's a whole one like that. This goes right in. Here's a big long one right in. So you can do bananas, nuts, cookies, anything you want. So you say, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is, especially in ice creams, for every particle of vanilla, and if I was making brownie ice cream, now with every particle of vanilla in the machine, I also have a particle of brownie right next to it. So if you're blindfolded and you taste it, you go, yep, that's brownie. It's got a great intense brownie flavor. That's the way we put Haagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry into business. And then with time, they got up to about 250, 300,000 gallons a year with our machines, and then had to switch over to what's called a continuous freezer, which makes 1,000 gallons an hour, and you can't put anything into it. They have this long, narrow tube, only about that wide, making vanilla, and then out here is a $40,000 additional machine that injects the pieces of brownies or the strawberries. So what they have in their ice cream in Haagen-Dazs today is vanilla ice cream with brownies injected into it. We have, for every particle of dairy mix or Italian ice in the machine, we have a particle of brownie right next to it. And before you ask, yes, there's enough extra brownies that you can eat 2 or 3 of them without hurting the formula, because I already did. All right, that should be enough. Now again, I'm going to add the Hershey syrup. I got to watch the cameras. Like here's vanilla. I noticed the first batch I made today, I added, oh boy. I added vanilla with the machine off, but now that it's running, and see how it's spurting a little bit? I don't want to risk getting anything into this expensive vanilla. So I'm going to do it separately, just to play safe. And that's it. So that's a true Italian ice, but it's not a flavor that you expected. Any questions? What is the vanilla? That's Lockhead. There's two great vanillas, I think, in the country. There's Nielsen Massey and Lockhead. Lochhead. And this is at my website. And this is an excellent one. This is an all-natural vanilla, which is mincing words, but it's a little cheaper. It's a lot cheaper than pure vanilla. It's all natural, but it's not pure. Thanks. There was another question? Yes. No, I'm running it on Italian ice. Yeah, it says Italian ice. I just punch it, and there we go. That's what the machine's doing. I've preset it for what I want it to run at. But then again, if you decide you want to change it, you can slow it down or speed it up. Maximum speed. Yeah. Yes.
I have a question about your machines. The air-cooled machine versus the water-cooled machine. Advantages to...
You have a lot of questions? You said?
No, just that one.
Oh, just that one. The question is air-cooled versus water-cooled. All the smaller ones are air-cooled, so that's the only way they come. They're going to put hot air into the room, but not a lot of it. The bigger machines are using even larger compressors, and they're going to take this room up and air-cooled from, say, 75 degrees up to 85 in about an hour. Now, a lot of people, over 90% of this model and bigger are water-cooled leaving here, not air-cooled. Air-cooled is only if you have a situation like you're in Jamaica, where water is scarce, you would buy an air-cooled. You're in Los Angeles County, where water-cooled equipment is banned, you would buy an air-cooled machine. Otherwise, you buy water-cooled because it costs $1,000 less to buy it. You're not spending any money on electricity. You're spending money on water, and water's expensive, so is sewer. And I hear that all the time. But you look at your water bill from last year and you look at this year, and you'll see that it only went up a few pennies. It goes up very slowly. Your electric bill goes up 6 times a year. You got a machine that's going to last all of these 40 years or longer on average, and you can expect your electric bill is going to skyrocket over the life of the machine. So you're better off with a water-cooled unit. Oh, it's looking good. Anybody else? Another question? Yes. You have to cool the engine, what we call the compressor. This one's being cooled. Your home refrigerator has a 1/8 horsepower compressor, really tiny, about that big. This thing is 2 horse, like that. This one here is 3 horse. You have to cool it. So we're sucking in air from one direction and blowing it out the other. When you do water cooled, you don't have the air vents. You're sending cold water in. The small ones are air cooled. The larger ones are air or water, depending on your location. So this one is water cooled, and we're going to suck in cold water, cool the engine, and then send it back out again. And I've got it going to the sink because it's 108 degrees, and it's perfectly good for using to rinse some of the things that Jeff is rinsing right now. By the way, speaking of rinsing, this will save you a spaghetti colander. This will save you from calling a plumber once a week. You will have some nuts or chips or cookies or something left in the machine. Not very much, but a little bit. It doesn't take much to clog your drains. So you just go buy a cheap spaghetti colander, and every time you're pouring wastewater out, you pour it through the spaghetti colander to catch it. So for a $6 investment, you save clogging up your pipes. Oh, you're gonna like this, really nice and smooth.
Chocolate brownie Italian.
Yeah. See, now there's so much sugar in here from not just the sugar content, which was a normal for a lemon ice. There's so much sugar because of the brownies and the syrup and all that it's going to be just dead smooth. Nice. That's ready. Here we go. Now let me show you something before I serve it to you. This is called a squeeze cup. If you talk to a paper supplier and you ask for squeeze cups, you'll never find them. Its generic term is a pleated, like a lady's dress, a pleated water cup. You go over to the water fountain, you put your cup under and you drink it and you throw it away, or you're in prison and they give you a couple of bills and you take them and you drink this. We eat this from the bottom up and squeeze it up. This is the New York, New Jersey, New England way of eating Italian ice. So I'm going to just squeeze out. Oh, that's so good. I'm going to take a break. This is good.
I think we ought to put it here. And
where's the trash can? Now, I'm getting $2 for that 4-ounce portion. Look at this. Where'd it go? I had a really nice cup here. Well, I'll use this. Oh, you know what? Well, anyway, I could put it in this. Don't come up yet. I could put it in this and call it a chocolate brownie sorbet and get $7 for it. Or I've got a special thing for you today. I saw these on the internet and had to buy them. You'll never guess what baseball team I'm in favor of. But I have New York Yankee batter's cap cups. And I have, just so you'll know, I washed them and sterilized them because I know where they came from. They came from Amazon.
Okay.
And so you have a souvenir, go for it. Okay. You have a souvenir to take home, a New York Yankee batting cup.
First one, come on.
So now, how much could we get for this? $6, $7 in this?
Since it's the Yankees, you can't get anything.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. Boston?
Rays.
Oh, Rays, of course. Oh, with those cowbells.
That'll make it crazy.
Yes. There you go. Help yourselves. This is a good product. This is a pure Italian ice.
Thank you. Your boy Stanton there's not doing so well, Steve.
It's super good, Steve.
It's good, isn't it?
This is a totally different texture than the blueberry one you gave me the day we came to get the machine.
Uh-huh. Oh, by the sugar content. This is
More sugar, I assume?
this has more sugar because of the ingredients, the brownies and the fudge. Yeah, it raised the sugar content way up. That won't work. Maybe it will. So these batter's helmets are for you to take home.
Did you start off this thing in New York?
Excuse me?
Did you start off the Emery Thompson in New York?
113 years ago.
Okay.
Yes, in the Bronx. And the irony is, 100 years later, I sold the building to the New York Yankees to become a parking garage. So I sold it to the Steinbrenner organization. Murder a week neighborhood, really tough place. But
When did you come down here?
13 years ago.
Thank you, sir.
So half that thing. I went to the store and it was sick.
Oh, there's a number of places. I have Nelson's a good one. They'll be expensive, but they'll be the best. They'll be the best. But there are other ones that are cheaper. You know, they're basically, the Nelson's a real refrigerated unit. You plug it in the night before, it freezes down. The walls are double wall filled with glycol or salt water. Freeze it down, unplug it, and then you can take it out for hours on end.
6 to 7 gallons.
6 to 7 gallons
Yeah.
after 2.5
No,
gallons?
Right.
I have Nelson, and there's one other one that just makes a box. And
Right.
It's carpet. You Google that. and
What do
you'll
we get
find them
out of the
everywhere.
machine when we
Just
put
do
in one
Italian
bag?
carts or
6 to 7.
Six
push
to seven,
carts,
yeah.
and you'll find them everywhere.
Thank you.
Take these around. Is that it? Did everybody get some? Pretty good, huh?
You could eat it all day. Very cold.
You can't sell that next to the ice cream.
No, can't, right? Gonna be like water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody gets that. Can't sell this with ice cream.
No.
Be like
You can
drinking
sell it-
water.
You can sell it, period.
I have to agree with you.
I agree.
It's got to be fruit flavored.
Huh?
It's not nice. It's got to be fruit flavored.
Got to be ice cream.
I was telling them that I agree with you now.
I emptied my cup, but it's in here.
Oh, good. A Coke float.
Oh, that's good. I just found something else to show you because we're all finished here. We've made all the products we have for today. But I wanted to show you this, especially for the Italian ice. If you're just starting out, you make the Italian ice, you freeze it in the freezer like that down to 0, and you can keep it for 2 or 3 weeks. This is got a fancy name. They call it an ice cream server. What it actually is, as you can see, it looks just like a tub. And how's that, Jack? It looks just like a tub, but it's double-walled, and it's filled with either salt water or plain water. I don't think it's plain water. I think it's glycol, antifreeze. And you freeze this down in your freezer overnight, and then you put your tub of Italian ice in here, and it's good for about 3 or 4 hours. So if you've got the bare essentials of just a ice cream cart with no refrigeration, you could handle, a bunch of these. They're about $85 each. I don't sell them. I don't make them. There's a business called Webstrant. Think of it like web restaurant, but they left a couple of letters out. Webstrant. So it's WEBSTRAUNT.com. And they sell these, and so do a lot of other people. But, if you're just getting out and you're on a shoestring budget, that's a heck of a way. Huh?
What are they called?
It's called an 3-gallon ice cream server. And this thing is freezing cold. And you just put your tub in there, and now you've got your own self-contained refrigeration supply for the next few hours. I've used this. I've made Italian ice and put it out in the hallway, and it lasted about 5-6 hours. Of course, that's in an air-conditioned building, so out in the sunshine, maybe 4 hours. But it's pretty neat. It's a pretty good way of going. They come in black or white. They also sell a domed lid for it for extra money. don't buy the domed lid. Because if you have the domed lid, you can't stack them in your cart because it's going to fall off. So forget the domed lid, just get some saran wrap and put it over it. Or something like that. But that's a pretty neat invention. And the company is called Carlisle, which I think is Carslile, like Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And it's called an ice cream server. So a pretty little handy thing to have. Any other questions on ice cream, dairy-free, or Italian ice? Oh, boy.
When he makes mixed patty ice cream, which sounds delicious, he uses something called mento paste.
Oh, good. I'm glad you brought it up. You're referencing a good book. Not as good as Jeff's. In fact, where is Jeff's book? This is...
It's real life.
$50, Jeff's book of his formulas. Don't forget to pay Jeff for the book you got. You got to give him a credit card before you leave. Excellent, excellent book. Great recipes. I would have this, and I would also have Malcolm Stogo's book, which can be bought on Amazon for more money. And it's got a lot of recipes in it. It's excellent. Incredible ice cream. But one thing about Malcolm's book you have to know about is he can get a bit floury. I try to make things down to the bare essence. So which flavor were you just talking about?
Mint patty, so he puts in dairy mix, two-fold vanilla, mento paste, which I've never
Mento paste. Colgate makes that, I think.
Okay.
Mint patty with chocolate chip.
So I don't think the audience heard it, but he has the mint, he's got the chocolate chips, and he's got something called mento paste. Well, even though Jeff says it's made by Colgate for your teeth, I don't have any mento paste. I don't even know what mento paste is. So I look at the very basics of what am I trying to make?
Right.
I'm trying
That's
to
what
make
you gotta do.
chocolate chip, or mint chip Italian ice, right? So if I don't have mento paste, I'll just add more mint and more chips.
And now, tell about Green Mountain, how the good flavors are coming out of there. Is that who do you use?
Oh, yeah, Green Mountain.
Yeah, they make beautiful mint extract.
Yep, Green Mountain makes great flavors. iRice is making a product that I like. I'll show you this. Jeff, did you go into this at all? Did you start making it?
I'm into my third case.
Whoa.
Third case.
Don't listen to me, okay? Just close your ears.
Oh, no.
You know, Jeff will never buy anything that comes in a number 10 tin until this came along. And one of the hardest things to deal with nowadays is eggs. If you want to make a French ice cream, which is vanilla ice cream with egg yolks in it, you know, everybody's terrified of it because of the egg yolks. Well, this is a product by iRice Company, and it's called Bavarian Base. And
Read the first ingredient.
Egg yolks.
Right.
And this is all safe and pasteurized. And in a machine like this, you would just put a pint of it in, and it makes the most, I mean, I wouldn't use it for a million flavors, but it makes the most incredible vanilla ice cream I've ever eaten. So I think the point I want to make about this company and that company and another company is there are places in the United States where you can write one check a month, and they'll send you everything you need for the store. They'll send you the cups, they'll send you the baseball hats, they'll send you the flavors, they'll send you the vanilla extract. And it's so nice and easy. You write one check a month and everything's delivered. What could be better? Well, that's what a good ice cream parlor does. But the great ice cream parlors, the ones that people talk about, like By-Right Creamery or Molly Moon's or Amy's in Austin and Jeff's Mystic Ice Cream, these companies sit down and they pick and choose what they want. I like the Bavarian Base from this company. I like this extract from Green Mountain Flavors. And Jeff will sit down and write 25 checks a month. A real pain in the neck, but his ice cream is far superior to anybody else's. And because no matter what we say, when all is said and done at the end of the day, I build the best machines, they last the longest amount of time, but if you put junk flavors in it, you're going to get junk ice cream. It's all about the flavor. So if you write 25 checks a month instead of going to a supplier who just sells everything, that sells everything is going to be the best price, but he's not going to carry the best stuff. And Jeff has showed me, without going into the math, that it doesn't matter what an ingredient costs. If you buy the very best, you can get a good enough price and more important, lines out the street to buy it, that you're not going to worry about the cost. So that's the secret to ice cream and ices, is great flavors.
So you would add that to, it wouldn't have to be custard you were making, you would make regular ice cream.
Yeah, I use, when Rod showed it to me and I tried it, I was blown away. I've made over 50,000 gallons of ice cream. I was blown away. I ordered it immediately. And the flavor that I make is simply called vanilla velvet. We don't say anything about custard or eggs or anything. It's just vanilla velvet. It's great, isn't it? And it's one of our big non-adult flavors, vanilla velvet. And all it is 3 ingredients. In my machine, a 24-quart machine, I use 2 quarts of this, 10 ounces of high-quality vanilla, and the mix. And that's it. And it's the best vanilla ice cream I ever tasted.
Are you adding your vanilla beans? I've seen that on
Well, I make my own vanilla, and I do have the bottle with the bean husks in it with my liquid, and that gives me the flecks of beans. You scrape the beans and then put the husks in this bottle and add cheap vodka, and you get tremendous vanilla. Great vanilla, right? Just another one of those. That was a 30-cent tip.
So if you want to be successful, buy great flavors. And it's that simple. And great flavors are determined by your taste. A good example is chocolate. My wife, Paula, won't eat anything that's less than 65% cocoa. Have you ever tasted a candy bar that's 65% cocoa? It tastes like chalk. It's horrible. She's buying these 85% Lund chocolate candy bars that are, she knows I won't eat them, so it's safe to buy them. They're untouchable. To me, Hershey bars, going back to my childhood, and M&Ms are the be-all and end-all of chocolate. And all of us fall in between that range. So the way you decide to make your chocolate ice cream is personal taste. And when you come up with all these different flavors, if you love it, by all means, make it. It'll be great. And don't be afraid to experiment. I don't know that I'll make ube ever again, but I had a lot of fun trying ube. But I had fun trying it, and you're all still standing, so it didn't kill you. Ube. Anybody else?
I shop on ube a lot.
Ice cream. Would you put cocoa powder and then put a little bit of vanilla in it?
Yes. I use...
Not such a little bit of vanilla.
A lot of vanilla.
A lot of vanilla.
Yeah, a lot of vanilla, because it enhances the chocolate. So when I'm making chocolate ice cream, yes, definitely vanilla in there.
When I make ice cream, I use 1 ounce of vanilla for every quart of mix. So if you're putting 10 quarts of mix in a 24-quart machine, 10 ounces of vanilla.
And
unheard of.
And it is unheard of, and it makes a big difference. I do it now too. Well, if nobody else has any questions, I'll be happy to give you a tour of the factory.
The factory.
And that'll be it. Thank you all very much for coming. We had a lot of fun. Thanks. I'm sorry?
The supplier list?
It's at the supplier list is at emerythompson.com. 319 videos, all the formulas. I mean, there's so much stuff there, you could be up for 4 days watching it all.